Here's a lockpick. It might be handy if you, the master of unlocking, take it with you.
Looting through the rubble, leaving cities war-torn, still incurring more scorn. Ragged and I'm forlorn, trying to unlock this. Open with my lockpicks, punching with my second hand every time the clock ticks.
All right, there you go.
Okay. Hopefully the audio will work. We'll do some testing. Who is this weird person on the camera? Hang on a moment, folks. We're just going to test to see as the first instant reward pops up. Again, the audio. Okay, there we go. Awesome. Hello, everyone out there on the worldwide interwebs. Here we're wearing a white shirt and a haircut that looks like a tarantula died on his head. Welcome to the DCG 201 live stream. Who are we? Well, DCG 201, formerly known as DC 201 or commonly as DEF CON 201, is a computer hacker tinkerer group that is located in the 201 area code, aka New Jersey, specifically Jersey City. We meet every third Friday of the month, and in fact, we are going to have our last meeting of 2021 going into 2022. I believe it's December 17th. And we're going to be posting a little poll on our social media because we need help trying to figure some things out. And I would say about next week, Friday-ish, over the weekend, you'll get new information about what's going to be there on the 17th. Because we know we're just trying to figure out a certain thing, and it's going to be absolutely amazing. So I hope you look forward to it. So I explained the 201 part. The DCG, DC, or DEF CON part is the big computer hacker convention called DEF CON. We are one of the many DEF CON groups that are located across the United States around the world. And as I step away from the camera, this is going to be the awkward part, you can look more up at us at our website, which is, right now it says DEF CON 201, but if you use DCG201.org or DC201.org, you will also get that there. Listed on our website, you can also find us on all sorts of social media. Hi there, Binary Badger. Nice to see you again. I don't know why it's not popping up on the chat there. That's kind of getting me nervous. But anyhow, you can see that we're on, like, for example, our Twitter at DEFCON21NJ, as well as DEFCON21 on Instagram and GitHub and hostsucks.social and things like that. If you want a master list of where our social media and our live streams, and you're too asked to not go to the website, there is the link right there in chat. Also, for those of you who are unfortunately watching us through Facebook, we can chat with you on Facebook, but because Restream and Facebook don't like to get along, you have to actually use a different system in order to chat with us. So I posted that link in the chat. And finally, and I am going to bring this up because I'm going to come back on camera, but then I'm going to step away for a bit when it comes up. We are, here we go, here comes the human back. We are currently, been up until January 1st, we are trying to raise $600 for the Children's Miracle Network Hospitals. This is a charity organization that financially supports multiple children's hospitals and pediatric centers across the United States and Canada. And note, this is not sponsored by McDonald's, I'm just really thirsty. And let's put it this way. Most children's hospitals and pediatric centers, because it's the United States, nobody has any insurance, nobody knows what they're doing. They were understaffed, underpaid, underfunded, under the thumb of politicians, and under everything before we had the pandemic. They're even worse now during the pandemic. Nope, no, I didn't say after the pandemic, during it, because we're still in one, technically. So we thought that the best way to celebrate the holiday season, starting back in October, is to essentially raise money for sick kids. So we are trying to get to $600. Right now, our top donation is from Fee One Dead at $69 nice dollars, among a bunch of other anonymous and not so anonymous contributions. And currently, we are at $269 nice towards our $600 goal. That means, if I've done the math correctly, 21 more dollars, and we will be halfway to $600. And we're going to be doing a fuck ton of live streaming this month. Any bit counts, by the way. If you have 200, sorry, if you have 200, that too, but if you have 20, why did the feed just dip? If you have 20 dollars, $50, $100, by all means donate. Help fill it all the way up past 600. That would be amazing. But if you're like me and you're broke and you only have $1, $3, $5, $10, not only does all of that chip away and count towards our goal, but even if we for some reason don't make $600, let's say we make PlayStation 3 launch money, $599 US, and we don't make our goal, all the money still goes to sick kids through the Children's Miracle Hospitals, Children's Miracle Network hospitals. So don't be like, oh, I don't want to donate and then nothing happens. It's going to happen. Don't worry. We're doing this until January 1st. And you also don't have to do it while we live stream. You can do it anytime. But while we live stream, we do get notifications for it. And we especially cheer you on. We also cheer you on if you like, share, and subscribe to us on Twitch, D Live, and YouTube. Hello, everyone out there. Again, because this is Master of Unlocking, we're not doing lemons for D Live, but we will be raiding on Twitch. So stay tuned for that. So when you follow us, we already get notifications. But when you get donated, I get super notifications for those. And then we basically worship you for the rest of the live stream. So if you want me to worship you, and if you want to continue to watch me suffer, please donate, even if it's just $5, towards helping sick kids this holiday. If you want to know how you can donate, there's 3 different ways. One, there is, if you're on Twitch right now, if you scroll down, there should be a Tiltify widget. Tiltify is what we're using to handle the donations, meaning none of our hands touch any of the money. We're not like a pump and dump cryptocurrency scam or a Donald Trump slush fund or whatever, where this is an actual legit thing. So you can go through that widget so you can donate while you watch the stream. You don't have to go anywhere. I'm still tweaking it, but I believe if you can properly scan that QR code, that will take you to the page on your phone. It's not a hack, trust me. Or, and this is going to be the next time I step away from the computer, I do have a master link for this, which you can find right here. Come on. What are you doing? There we go. Right there in chat right now that I just dropped. So after I take a sip, let's get into what today's show is. Also, real quick to note, besides liking us and subscribing to us on Twitch, Live, or YouTube, if you have any questions about why my hair's so bad, the topic we're talking about, lock sport and lock picking in general, hacker stuff, DCG 201, we would love you for it. However, if you are shy and you're just here to watch me suffer, aka watch me so you learn something, aka how not to suffer, as I always say, we love lurkers too. Keep lurking and keep learning. Just putting that out there. So this is one of my 2 shows. This is the show that happens the first Sunday of the month. It's December. I can't believe it's already the end of fucking 2021. I'm gonna say that, and then it's gonna feel like 5 days pass by, and I'm gonna be like, I can't believe it's the end of 2022. But we do this first and third Sunday of every month, and this is the Master of Unlocking. I'm not considered a master in the community, even though I can pick locks. It's just that I'm a giant gamer dork and I'm a huge Resident Evil fan. So if you saw in that intro, I just thought this title would be funny. Just putting that out there. But this is the show where we teach about, and I wish I had the click. Ooh, hi. Let me actually get it right now. This is where we teach about locks. And I was so stupid, I forgot. I put this away by accident. So I'm sorry I keep disappearing away from the camera, but it's not an episode of Master of Unlocking until I forget how to do something. So this is the show where we learn about locks. We learn how they're built, how they work. We learn how, sorry, that got in the way. How they're built, how they work, any sort of odd security flaws in them. And if I'm able to do this really quick, when we learn those security flaws, we then use and or make different types of tools. Yeah, never glorious on camera, is it? We use different types of tools to either pick or bypass. Come on. Why do you like this on camera? There we go. Pick or bypass that lock system. So, we've had many episodes this year. We started back in May of 2020. Just put that in the wrong part. This is going to be a theme of tonight, isn't it? Watch, and the lock will actually open tonight, because I'm going to give you a detail about what we're specifically covering. We have a lot of episodes, so what is this episode going to be about? Well, first of all, this is not going to be a 101 tutorial on how to pick locks. You can go to our previous early episodes to figure out all of that stuff. We're going to look at a very specific, not only type of lock, but a series of locks from our good old favorite whipping company, Master Lock, the Microsoft Defender, or what's a better analogy? The the Norton antivirus of lock companies. That's what we're going to look at today. We're going to be particularly looking at what Master Lock calls its Pro Series of locks, which is always kind of fascinating. And particularly, we're looking at the Master Lock 740 series, or its full name, the 740 KD or CAD. And we're going to examine it. I'm going to tell you why it's a really weird lock, honestly, even by Master Lock standards. We're going to attempt to pick it because I've already picked it off camera twice, so we're going to see if we can get it on air. And finally, we're going to take a short break, and then we're going to attempt to which we've never done on the show before, by the way. This will be a first. We're going to disassemble this lock, gut it, and see what it looks like on the inside. Okay? So now I'm going to switch the cameras to the optimal view for lock picking here. There we go with the transition. All right, everything's on there. You can see the McDonald's advertisement, which I'm going to turn it this way. So, as you can see here is the my personal EDC, or Everyday Carry Pick Set. Over here, we're going to deal with later. All this stuff has to do with disassembling this. But right now, we're going to take a look at this lock, and hopefully, I can angle it in such a way where you can properly see the package on here. But first, let's focus. Okay. So actually, I wonder, does this look better turned off? Okay, I think this actually might look better turned off here. So just like she said, it looks a lot better when it's actually turned off. So this is the case that came in. I already opened it and checked it out. This is fascinating because this is what's called, this is from Master Lock, as you can see. You can all see it on the lock body. It says Master Lock here. And etched in, you can kind of see these words. This is what's called the Pro Grade, or on the lock body itself, the Pro Series. See if we can get it without the shine here. My thumb's in the way. The Pro Series 740. And this lock has a lot of very odd and interesting quirks about it. First of all, if you look at the packaging of it, you're going to notice something. And let me turn on the light again. Actually, let me leave it alone. And let me try to go grab another Master Lock product. I know I have one floating around here somewhere. Keyword is floating. I might have to run into my room for a hot second because I do have the packaging of one of my former Master Lock products here floating around somewhere. Just give me one moment here. I'm going to attempt to find it. See, believe it or not, I actually prepared for this episode, but then things like this slip my mind, and then I look like a fucking idiot. Let's see if I actually have it in my portable picking kit that you can't see on screen. I have it off screen here because I might have a little piece of Master Lock something in here. If not, I might be able to just kind of describe it anyhow, because anyone can go and look this up online. It's not that big of a deal. Because here's the problem with this place: I'm like slowly cleaning it, and because of that, things where I thought they were are not there anymore. Because I am a effing idiot. So I don't know where anything is now. However, that shouldn't deter us, because what's really odd about this, if you've ever seen like previous packaging of Master Lock products on this show, is that normally, and I might be able to find it later after our break, there is normally a little rating system from 1 to 10 that we've made fun of in the past. In fact, we particularly made fun of it with these Master Lock number 15, which is ranked at a 10, and yet we were able to almost pick it as easy as a Master Lock number 3, which is a type of Master Lock that is so notoriously easy to pick. I have it in my training kit as a beginner lock, like a real-world lock to pick. What's interesting about the Pro Series, and of course this is only one of them, but I have a bunch of these, is that nowhere on the packaging does it list any sort of number ranking. basically, according to, I guess, Master Lock Internal Logic, if you get a Pro padlock from them, is considered the best thing that it could possibly be, and therefore it doesn't have a ranking. Although I kind of question that, because you would think that even a Pro Series would be on the ranking. Maybe it's rank 7 and above. No idea. And I'm really mad right now because I swear to fuck that I had one of my master locks that had the packaging on there, and now I can't find. I'm actually gonna blame the my partner that I've been seeing, because I now wonder if they thought it was trash and put it in the trash bag outside, and now I can't find it. So whatever. I'm going to get new Master Lock products eventually, so once I grab those, I will have that list to show off in person and on future streams. I try to save the packaging just for stuff like this. So that's the first thing that's odd with this, is that if you look at it, there is no ranking on it like other. Hold on a second here. There is no ranking on it. Trying to get this in the middle properly, like other master locks. So just to make this easier to move, let's take this out of the packaging. I had to cut this through the side because I'm getting new sharp thingies. So that's kind of the packaging in of itself. And it says advertised here that is a solid steel lock. It also lists that it's better weather resistance. Not best weather resistance, better weather resistance, and better cut resistance. Now, if you look on the back, and I'm actually going to take this entire internal piece out just so it's easier to read. We get a bunch of lovely details here. So what we now know is it says that it has outstanding protection against physical attacks, which is something we are not going to test on today's episode. Number 2 is very fascinating because it's a variant on something you see on a lot of descriptions of Master Lock products, which is that it says it is pick-resistant Pro Series 5-pin tubular cylinder. Now, I will give Master Lock some credit. Actually, let me put this flat and zoom in. Oh, zoom in. There we go. Now we're going to focus here. We're going to do something my brain has a hard time doing in focus. Yeah, I at least give props for Master Lock in that they do say it's pick resistant and not some bullshit word like pick proof. It should say it's more resistant to being picked instead of pick resistant, because it's kind of like the phrase bulletproof vest, where there's no such thing as a bulletproof. It's just resistant to bullets being shot velocity. Let's move on. It says number 3 was as a cut resistant boron alloy, 5 and 16 inch, which is 8mm shackle, which again we're not going to be testing. Pry resistant dual deadbolt locking mechanism. That's not really important. That's pry resistant. I don't know why it would be. Maybe someone can answer that in the chat for me. What is noted of worth is that, and we'll see that when we open the lock, is that it's using ball bearings to hold the shackle into the lock body until the actuator releases the shackle. So we are not going to shim the lock body because basically thanks to those ball bearings, it's impossible to do. And finally, it advertises a rust-resistant chrome painting. Again, we're not going to wet this and stick this outside for a month. We're here to test the actual pin tumbler core itself. And then, which is a first for our channel, we're going to, on the show, we're going to see what it's made of. Freaking butt rock Sonic the Hedgehog music. So let's look more at this lock. Let's zoom out of it. Let's get these BS instructions out. Let's go focus. So this is the lock that we're talking about. I will say that it has a very nice finish to it. It's very shiny, even in this dull lighting. This is Master right on it. And that has the basic Pro Series kind of logo right there, as well as 740, which is the type of lock that it is. Which is fascinating because normally they list that on the bottom. Instead, it lists the year of manufacturing. So they put the actual model number on the front of the lock body itself. Now it's less impressive on the other side. There's just a little extra maintenance hole here, and that's about it. It has a very tapered off top. In fact, it's tapering off on its top. Reminds me a lot of the Master Lock 120 140s with its tapering, except instead of a wedge in the middle, it's a more smooth front body cylinder. And of course, this is really trivial to pick. We're going to see about this guy in a moment. And you know, the shackle, again, there is space to put shims in the shackle, but thanks to those ball bearings, we are not going to get in there. And again, we're not torching this open and things like that. We really just want to see how pick resistant this actual lock is. But what becomes really fascinating is when you look at the core in of itself. Let's see if we can zoom in. Oh, let's get this wrong. Let's see if we can zoom in here on the Elmo. Get that to focus. So there's a number of factors here when we look at it. First of all, the core itself is what's called it's recessed in, meaning it's sitting lower than the lock body itself. It's not flush against the lock body. Second of all, as you can see, it is not one solid unit. There is a metal plate outline with a rivet holding it in. That is what's holding the actual lock tumbler in and pushing the back part up against the actuator so that when you use the key, it can open. This tells me, even if I didn't know the package, that this is a repinnable core, meaning once we open it, we can then use some sort of tool possibly to open this and essentially swap cores out that are compatible and or do modifying or maintenance work to the tumbler core itself. In our case, we just want to know what it is on the inside. Another thing about this is that, again, because of its recessness, we're going to attack this. I know this for a fact with the top of the K-weight tensioner. And we're going to look at the keys, and then I'm going to point out something that you can't visibly see with this lock about how this opens. And I just realized I did something incredibly stupid. I take the L for this. I have unfortunately been so out of the loop and had such a crazy day that I completely forgot to do this. So we're actually going to ignore this part. Let's switch over back to my face, okay? Sorry about this part. I completely forgot about this, and this is very good before we get into the actual picking. So again, I am a Tool member. This is not a Tool endorsed and or sponsored show, even though I have a bunch of fans who are members of Tool that do like this show. I will, however, use 2 rules from Tool on the show every episode just because it makes way too much goddamn sense, okay? And before we continue on, before we look at the keys, before we open the lock with the keys, before we try to pick them open, and then before we gut this lock, we have to talk about 2 very important things. This was my fault as an instructor to forget them, but we're doing it right now. So there are 2 rules from Tool, the open organization of lock pickers, that we don't do anything on this episode before we get to the actual physical handling of this, okay? The first rule is do not pick locks that you rely on. You have no idea how many times I've said this rule and I've taught people. My nose is acting up again on the stream. I don't know why this happens. How many times I've teach people how to pick locks when their first instinct when they learn how to pick or shim or bypass something is that they want to try this on their front door. They want to try this on the locks on their windows and gym lockers and school lockers and things like that. Every time you pick a lock or you do a bypassing technique or just something unnatural to the lock that's not putting the key in and turning it or doing the right combination or setting the Bluetooth signal or whatever, one, you are going to wear that mechanism down. Eventually the lock will break enough times. Every time you do an exploit, it's way easier to use that exploit. Therefore, if you rely on that lock to actually protect something, hang on, I want to check something. All right, that's it there. Damn it, why is it not there anymore? God damn it. But basically, every time you do that exploit, so if someone tries to pick your locks or do that exploit on your lock that you rely on, it's more likely to comply with the technique. And 3, you could possibly break your tools. And in fact, you could do all 3. You could actually break your lock and break your lock picking tools all at the same time. So do not pick locks that you rely on. Have locks and practice locks and tools that are just for you learning lockpicking. Do not use those locks for anything else. Second thing is do not pick locks that you don't own. So whether it's past episodes, this current one live, if you're watching this later or watching future episodes, and like if, for example, you're walking around, it's like, oh, I saw that episode where you talked about the Master Lock Pro Series 740. I see that. That's that same lock that's on the show that I see. I have the tool and technique for that. Blah, blah, blah. Don't do that because one, that's not your property physically on there, and border wise, that's someone else's, so you're already trespassing. And no matter how shitty the lock is, there's a reason why people put locks on things. It's to deter thieves. So you're just breaking so many trust laws, legal laws, etc. So just do not pick locks that you don't own, okay? Because it covers your ass, it covers my ass, it makes everything fine. So once again, do not pick locks that you rely on, and do not pick locks that you don't own. All the locks, including this Master Lock Pro Series 740, and the keys that you're going to see, which is why I don't mind showing these keys in public. I am never using this lock to lock like my gym locker or money or whatever. This lock is going to go straight into the training kit, or basically its new sister later this month, and is only going to be used for me to practice on, for others to practice on. I do not rely on this lock to lock anything. It's literally just for lock sport. And these are locks that I own, that when I go in public to teach these, I allow everyone, I consent for everyone to pick this lock, especially because I don't rely on it. So that's why we're allowed to do all this terrible shit to these locks. Pick them, bypass them, gut them, saw them in half, blow them up. And why we're not going to do that to random Master Lock number 3s we see, or other Master Lock Pro Series 740, because these are locks I don't rely on. And these are locks that I own, that I give permission to myself and others to just lock pick, and don't secure those locks with anything. So again, do not pick locks that you rely on, and do not pick locks that you don't own. You got it? Repeating once again. Do not pick locks that you rely on, and do not pick locks that you don't own. 2 rules, okay? Got that? Let's continue on. I also want to remind everyone again that we are raising money for the Children's Miracle Network Hospital that you can see above. I just posted the link in chat again. If you have any questions about that, the charity we're doing, or you have questions about why my hair it looks like the unofficial sequel to Little Shop of Horrors that nobody asked for, things about lock picking, about this lock, DCG 201 and stuff, you can ask me in chat. I love interacting with chat. Otherwise, keep lurking, keep learning, because I like my lurkers too. And that if you do follow us on Twitch, Live, or YouTube, we love you. Especially if you're on YouTube, make sure you click that bell and turn on all notifications, because YouTube is coded really shittily, especially its algorithm. And we get notifications for those, but we get extra big notifications if you donate $1, $3, $5, $10 for the Children's Miracle Network Hospital fundraiser that we're trying to raise $600 by January 1st. That's going to be a big key. So we're trying to raise money for sick kids by the end of the year. January 1st, this whole thing stops. Even if we still are stuck at $269, thank you, Fee One Dead, for that $69 nice donation there. But not only will we shout you out if you donate, but even if for some reason we don't get past like $300, which is only halfway to our goal at the beginning of the month, all the money by January 1st is still going to go to the sick kids. So I think that's just a great way to bring in the new year after 2 incredibly shitty years. If you want to donate, if you're on Twitch, you can scroll below. We have a little Tiltify widget. Tiltify is the service that we use for the donations. We don't touch any of the money of itself, so that way you know it's all kosher and legal. That way, that widget on Twitch, you can donate while still watching us. We also have a QR code that, if it actually works this time, it will send your phone or whatever device you scan it with to the donation page. Or, as I just did, you can click that link on in chat. All right. So let's look at this key. Pretty standard master lock, kind of weird custom key here, is labeled numbered 414G227. Key itself is the 600B series, and we can tell from the bidding, even though we're still going to test for this, that this is 5 pins. You can see it in the little bids that are cut out, little peaks and valleys. That's the bidding. Those cuts that makes the bidding, we can tell. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In fact, let me get like this screwdriver here to point out. So that would be where pin number 1 would be, pin number 2 would be, pin number 3 would be, pin number 4 would be, pin number 5. And of course, in Master Lock fashion, despite this being the Pro Series, in which supposedly you should be able to buy this lock and you have the best lock available. Maybe it's just the one that I bought, but this is not exactly the best bidding in the universe. Basically, it looks like the 2 or 3 in the front are very close to the shear line itself. Just needs a little bit of encouragement to go there. And then it looks like the first pin is a little bit deeper than the other pins. So it's kind of like slightly high and a little low, and that's really it. There's no high-low highs or low-high lows or some crazy mountain peak variation like we've seen with other locks, even Master Lock's own locks. Um, I mean, you look at the bidding of just this random practice lock here, and you can see with its peaks and valleys how this would be a lot more secure where you're reaching, or where you're doing a reach around, literally, different pins and stuff, causing them possibly to drop or get stuck. This is a way more crazy bidding than the Master Lock supposed Pro series. And honestly, I got this for almost the same price as the Master Lock Pro series itself. So it's 5 pins. Now, I've done research on this lock and I figured out 2 things as we zoom out a bit and we're going to recalibrate here. So one is that the what makes this apparently the Pro series, besides the fact that it's apparently a higher grade, harder steel, as it uses ball bearings for resistant shimming, although even modern Master Lock number 3s have that same type of ball bearing resistance. It's lock body and everything. What really makes this the Pro series when they talk about pick resistance is that this does have security driver pins. Driver pins, again, are the pins in the lock that are on the top above the shear line normally, and the key pins are the ones at the bottom. So it should have, when we eventually open it, different spool pins in them. Now, as a reminder of what a spool pin is, and then I'll show you the other weird thing. As you can see, with let's zoom in a bit. Here comes the other DCG 201 member, or who happens to live with me. If you look at this sort of setup, you can see that those little cans on the top, those are what are called standard driver pins. They drive the lock by up and down. They are just there to exist. Every pin tumbler lock has this sort of arrangement. Now, one of the ways you can add security to a lock is by doing evil things with those driver pins. And that's where this whole thing comes in. I'm going to zoom in here. And these are spool pins. And so as you can see, compared to the little cans that are the normal driver pins at the top here, let's get a good angle here. You can see that these have little weird cuts to them. And that's actually why they're called spools. Essentially, they are normal thickness of a driver pin at the top, thinner in the middle, at a completely different size, and then thick at the bottom, mirroring how thick the top part is. So they make kind of like a capital I, or if we actually took one out and could see one, which we actually probably could do here. Let me double check to see what I have in my little pinning tray here, because I know I have some security pins. Yeah, here's one. I'm going to be very careful with this guy. Little tiny. I'm going to probably bring this up later when we go and gut this thing, but there's something about like getting lock supplies, and that when you get them through the mail, they come into what I can only describe as little druggy bags. That has always drove me crazy because, particularly at postal services and customs, the fact that you've ordered a bunch of products that come in little bags that normally you would put questionable substances in raises a ton of eyebrows, as if this whole thing is sketchy enough. So this is an actual spool pin here. See if I can get that in frame. So as you can see here, even though this is not exactly like the one that is in the current visual demo that I use as an instructor, it is thick at the top, thinner in the middle, and then thick at the bottom of the same kind of distance here. So if I take it out, it's really hard to do with this, but because they're so tiny. But in 3 dimensions, this looks like a little spool. If you've ever done like sewing or knitting or something, this would be kind of familiar to you, where it's just like a spool with a thread. If you took all the thread out, that's what these spool pins actually look like. Put this back, and now we won't have to see. And this is like a sneak peek of what we're going to be looking at later when we gut this lock, even if I can't open it on air, which I'm a little confident that we can open it on air, but I also have locks that are really shy, and I'm really hoping they're shy on camera, and I'm really hoping this isn't one of them, so we shall see. I'm going to put this away. But that's what a spool pin is. And why is it like that? Well, eventually I'm going to get a 3D printed jumbo model of this so you can see what I mean. But basically, what it is that because it's thinner in the middle but normal thickness is at the top and bottom, what essentially happens is that when you seize up the core, and when you do the tensioning with your top of the keyway or bottom of the keyway tensioner, again, if you want to recap of this, look at earlier episodes later on. And you have it twisted and you're pushing the different pins, the spool pin is very much likely that it's going to get caught in that thinner section of its trunk. And the thicknesses at the top and bottom are going to prevent that core from turning. So one, it's a way to kind of catch the core so the pin doesn't properly set. Two is that because the core will move when it gets to that thinner part of the driver pin, it kind of tricks you into thinking that you have, because the core rotated, you think you set that pin, but you didn't set that pin. So as you can see that's tricky because you'll, especially let's say the whole thing, like maybe this lock is full of spools. What will happen is that you will think you have set every single pin in that lock, and then you're wondering why it's not opening, and then you're futzing around, and then some of the pins might drop. You might overset those pins if you don't know what you're doing, and you're just never going to get that lock open. Also, because of that mid-sizeness, especially if there's more than if there's 3 spool pins or more, it's also, each spool pin you add makes it very hard and unlikely that you can use a kinetic attack such as raking or zipping to get it open. And again, I have a lot of students who come to me where the first time they learn any of this, all they were doing their entire life is raking, and then they got to a real security lock like this Master Lock Pro Series 740 that's above their skill level technically, and because all they've done is raking, they cannot open it, and basically they learn how to run before they learn how to walk, and I have to teach them how to walk. I have to bring them back to square one. So you can see the nightmare here. It will catch the core, so you can't turn it. Because the core turns, you think you've set the pin and you can't. And it also prevents simpler, effective techniques such as raking and zipping kinetic attacks that will vibrate all the pins. So how do you get around this? Because I have, from Tool, the overdosation lock pickers, some practice part of my kit, training kit for students. I have practice spool pin ones, tumblers, that each one has a spool pin. It goes up to 4 spools. And the technique here is actually very fascinating because a lot of people think with spool pins, you need like some crazy special equipment or something like that. Get this out of my EDC. There we go. But you don't need any of that. What it is, and this is why I can't wait till I get the 3D print out of this. You know, I said that when you set that pin, that it gets stuck. Well, what you end up doing is you have to, in order to defeat it, you have to straighten that pin straight up in order to actually set it above the shear line like you would a normal pin. So what happens is you'll know you're dealing with a spool because unlike the other normal pins, even other security pins like serrated pins, if you think you've set all the pins and you're pushing the pins, and you'll notice, and this is where tensioning is important, that when you move a pin, that the tension wrench seems to push back against your finger. Like, you know how you're rotating, you're trying to slightly rotate this counterclockwise, a little bit of tension. It's going to start going counterclockwise instead of clockwise a little bit. You're going to feel it push back against your finger. That's called counter rotation. Okay, folks? And so that's how you know, aha, I'm probably dealing with a spool pin. So what you're doing with that counter rotation is if you keep the same amount of pressure and you push on it, it's not going to go anywhere. So you have to do something that's kind of crazy, but it works. What you're going to do is when you realize, aha, this is a spool pin, you're going to push up on the spool pin as you would with a normal pin. As you do it, you're going to very, very, very subtly, you're not going to be able to see this on camera, slightly lift and slowly and slightly lift the tension off the tensioner. What that's going to do is that instead of it being sideways in between and blocking the shear line, as you push up, it's going to rebalance itself and straighten up. Once it's completely straight, it's going to zip up into that tube, and you're going to hear and feel it click. And if you're good enough, you're going to put more tension once you feel that click happen. When that happens, it's now above the shear line. The driver pin spool is above the shear line. The key pin is below it, and it's going to set in like a normal pin, and it's going to rotate. And it, for example, if you only have one spool pin when you do this, like what you're going to see here, it's just going to open. So when I push up on this pin, I feel that this hole, I can feel the tensioner pushing back on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift the tension off and push down. It happens very fast because I'm so used to this, and we got it open. Now there's only one pin in here, so before we move on, because I'm going to show you again what it looks like on the inside, I'm going to do two of them, which is very similar. As I'm going to have to, so I've already put some tiny bit of pressure, and I'm going to push on these pins. And if I do this correctly, that second pin, I'm going to lift tension, and both of these should set. Oh, just lost my tension here. And we have it open. So I just did two spool pins in a row. And now I'm going to show you exactly what's going on here. And I'm actually going to take a top of the keyway tensioner to show this, just because for some reason with Sparrow's locks, the top of the keyway tensioner and actually tensioning it counterclockwise seems to work the best on this. So this is a lock that has its window cut out, so you can actually see inside the lock. So I'm going to show you what I'm talking about here. So just for display purposes, I'm going to put top of the keyway tension, so it's tensioning the top of the lock. And I'm going to push that tensioner towards me. And so you can see these cans here. There's the one that's high, there's one that's super low, a little bit low, and then one high and one's a little bit low. Kind of like a class, it's kind of like an entire group of high schoolers. Some are a little bit higher than others. So what's going to happen here is that I already feel the tension I'm actually using. I'm going to that second pin all the way in the back. So the first pin's all the way in the back. Here's the second pin, or if you're counting from the front, this is the fourth pin. And when I push up on that, I already feel the rotation on this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ease off the tension, and you're going to see it line up. Yep, it just happened there. I just overset that one. Let me reset. You're going to see that. You just heard that click and saw it. It just lined up. So that one's lined up. This one overset. So I'm actually going to take the tension a little bit off and set it back down. And then once I get this one to the shear line, which I just did, the whole thing is all those spool pins are on the top of the shear line. The key pins are at the bottom, and I'm able to rotate that. So I'm going to reset that and show it again. I'm going to go even slower this time. So I'm going to go that fourth pin. And when I put the tension on it, again, I can feel it. It's trying to push back. Hang on. It's trying to push back with my tension on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ease off the tension. It's going to let it push up. See, now it's straight. I'm going to put that tension back on. So that's one of the guys. It's like caught up. I'm going to ease the tension off a bit. See, now that the tension's off, it actually moved up. So it's completely straight now. I'm going to put that tension back on, and now it's set above the shear line. The other key pin just dropped. So I'm going to check. So these three pins in the back are all set up. That first one, if I do that front one, it's set and it opens. So you can see how, I'll do it one last time as I'm talking, that if you try to push up on these, there's this counter rotation, and basically, sorry, I did that way too fast. There's a counter rotation and it doesn't set. So I have to do is ease off the tension on it ever so slightly, and then as soon as you hear that click, but I feel it, it clicks in, I put the tension right back on, and then that sets it at shear line, just like any other driver pin. I'm able to open and close it. The reason why I'm teaching all of this is because for my research, this Master Lock Pro series is not only has security pins in it, it specifically has spool pins. And from what I understand, we're going to find out when we gut this, because obviously the key biddings are different. They're the different keys, so they also might have different arrangement and places of these spool pins. They're all not pinned exactly alike, even if they have it's like Mexican food. They're all different. They're all different dishes, even though they all have the same materials as the new instant reward comes up. By the way, if you're curious about what that is, it's simply a cool way. I've introduced on Crypto Barons as well. It's a cool way to basically get a type of cryptocurrency called Incent. Not a scam, believe it or not. You go to get.incent.com, you download the wallet, and then when those little icons pop up, you can scan this tiny QR code or enter the DCG201 dash code, that full bundle of garbage letters and numbers in there, and you get a little bit of cryptocurrency, and then eventually you can pull it out for real money. So yay. But back to the lock here. This lock, which specifically it seems to focus on spool pins. And in my experience, and this is why I don't know, it's one of the reasons why I want to open this lock, is I do not know, and I kind of wish I could tilt the camera over to see the hilarious, like, circus going on in the hallway. I do not know if this has, like, 3 spool pins, or if it has all spool pins. If it has all spool pins and I'm able to defeat this like I've done previously on cam, I'm going to feel really proud of myself, even though I showed you that I can handle 5 spool pins all at the same time. So that's thing number 1. That's not what particularly makes this master lock kind of weird, because as I can show you, believe it or not, the master lock 120 and 140, which is considered the stupidest, easiest lock you could pick in your entire life. I've literally taught 5-year-olds how to pick this lock. But provided this one's not lock shy, this actually does have a spool pin in it. The thing is that it is in master lock style arranged so incredibly shitty that basically all that spool pin stuff of what it does and everything just does not matter. And of course, I'm screwing up right now. I also probably just grabbed one that probably needs to be moved. Hang on. Of course, I said this is the easiest lock to pick in the world, and now it wants to be camera shy. Why are you like this? Let me grab another one. I probably have to re-lube that one. So yeah, again, there's a spool pin in these. But what makes it so freaking weird is that despite the actual real security pin in it, I say this as I'm struggling with it for some reason. Let me just do it in the bad way. That it literally does not matter. It's like the whose lies it anyway points. It does not matter. And this thing, 3rd time's the charm. See, well, I'm going to laugh if the high security lock opens and for some reason these locks, which despite me lubing multiple times, I'm planning on before our December meeting of getting completely new ones. I'm going to laugh if for some reason these don't want to open on cam, but the other ones open. Come on. You can do it. I believe in you. All right. Why does this give me a hard time? I'm going to cheat, everybody. Just due to time. There we go. But you can single pin pick these open even though there's a spool pin in them. And actually, it shows you, remember I said that spools make it difficult to rake? They implemented the spool so badly in these Master Lock 120s and 140s that it quite literally does not matter with all the stuff I said about spools. It will in the Pro Series, because not only is the Pro Series probably better built, and we're going to find that out once we dissect it, but the other issue with it is that why does this not want to work on cam for some reason? But the other reason is that, well, first of all, this is not a lock that I've had that's over 4 years old. That's been picked literally to death. Yeah, this is why I'm getting new Master Lock 140s and Master Lock number 3s, because they're starting to fall apart. But 1 is because they have more than 1 spool pin in them, and 2, they're probably implemented way better, although we're going to figure that out when we dismantle it. So here's the other weird part about this lock, and then we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of actually opening this thing, and I will quickly rehydrate at some point. And it actually has to do with the mechanism that you can't see inside that we might be able to see when we take apart. So weird thing about this lock is that the core itself is spring tension. There is a spring mechanism in there, and this is probably what they mean about the pry resistance, that actively fights against the core. You actually have to use a lot of force to turn this key in order to open it. Like, it's really like to give you a comparison, right? Like, let's take that clear, simple 6-pin lock that I have. Like, I'm going to barely push this. And see how smooth and easy it just turns and opens? Like, I'm not even doing anything. Like, I can literally, like, do it like my thumb and my pinky. And it just opens like that, right? This evil bastard actually has spring tension against it. So if I just use my index finger and my thumb, same thing. I'm literally using the same force and the key's barely turning. So I'm going to add a bit more pressure. Very slowly, so I'm going to add even more pressure. More pressure. And as you turn, it pushes more against your turning until I'm literally putting my entire hand and arm into turning this. Now, that's the other weird thing you notice, right? So there's spring tension on the core. You have to this in order to open it. But remember how with this other one, there's a spring here where the shackle is. So there's spring constantly pushing up on the shackle. So when you use the key and open it as the actuator, note when I fully turn the key, that shackle just pops right out. Because as you can see, you can look down here. I'm going to do it really slowly. I'm actually going to put my hand on this. When I turn it, this spring pushes that shackle straight out the lock body now that the actuator is not holding it back. Now I'll do it hands-free again so you can feel and see the force. And most padlocks are like this. They're spring-loaded shackles, as they're called. Note what happens when we finally pull our force in this and turn the key on this Pro Series 7040. Didn't open. This works very similar like a disc detainer lock, which you can see our last episode where I showed you this. There is no spring on the shackle. Once it's in the open position, and you have to hold in the open position, you actually have to, especially if it was attached to the object, you would pull down on it, but essentially you have to pull the shackle out of the lock body. And you can see the cuts there, those circle cuts. That's where those ball bearings in there are holding it. But I get the shackle open. And if I take the tension off, it actually, well, now that it's a loose, it won't. But if I put it back in, yep, spring turns it back. So unlike most locks, which have no spring tension or very little spring tension on the core, but they have spring tension shackles, the Master Lock Pro Series 740, and from what I've understood, it's the only Pro Series that does this, has a spring-loaded, so you have to use a lot of tension to open, to move that actuator in there, but it has no spring tension on the shackle, so you have to physically pull down the lock body or pull the shackle out of the lock body. So a spring tension core, but no spring for the lock. That actually, believe it or not, makes this lock more difficult to pick if you had no idea about this. Because essentially, you will pick this open. First of all, you will not know what the tension is. It's very weird. You have to do very light tension on it until the shear line, all the driver pins, spool pins are at the top, and the normal pins are at the key pins are at the bottom. Because once it slightly turns, you then have to use like all the force in the universe to turn it, and you're going to turn it in your hand, and yet this thing will not open. And this thing, the shackle's light, the body is heavy. So you can literally hold it sideways, like literally upside down, and the shackle will not slide out. It's just there. So you're going to think, what the hell, I just picked this open, but it's not opening. The shackle's not disengaging. And that's because you actually have to pull down the lock body if it's attached to something or pull the shackle up in order to actually open it. So again, if you didn't know that that's what this 740 lock was like, it would completely throw you in for a loop. So now you're going to ask yourself, how are we actually going to pick this lock? Well, here's what I figured out in my research how to do. Now, just as a backup, I'm going to put my favorite giant thick bottom of the keyway. We're going to zoom all the way after this. Bottom of the keyway tensioner, just in case. I haven't been able to, I'll put it this way. I have been able to do another technique with this lock with the bottom of the keyway tensioner. I have not been able to single pin pick with it yet. But in terms of SPPing or single pin picking with 7040, what we're going to use is top of the keyway tension wrenches, and particularly we're going to be using pry bars. And the pry bar that seems to work is the thickest yet thinnest gnarled pry bar that I got from Sparrows. Because if it's too thin, we're going to need to turn that lock body once it opens. And this is way too flexible and way too thin in order to properly turn that lock body once we actually have all the key pins and driver pins separated from the shield line. And of course, which I am going to take out as a potential backup, is I do have pry bars that are thicker than this. This is not going to bend for the life of it. The problem is that they do not fit inside the top of the keyway. They actually do fit inside the bottom of the keyway. I could use these as a bottom keyway tensioner, but we want to actually tension this at the top. I am going to take this pry bar, this is 40 thousandths of an inch, as opposed to this 25 thousandth, I believe, of an inch pry bar out. And the reason is because the first time I picked this open, I actually lost my grip with that spring-loaded core. So what happened is I couldn't pull it all the way, as what she said, innuendo counter, I couldn't pull it all the way out, and thus it rotated instantly and snapped back, and all the pins realigned, and it was locked again. That's what happened. I would manage to do, which was what we're going to try, using this 25 thousandths of an inch pry bar, top of the keyway, to open this fully. I figured out the exact amount of tension that I need. It's a lot. It really is a lot. I just want to check something over here. Okay. But I'm going to keep the 40 thousandths of an inch because if I'm having the same problem or because of how heavy this lock is and I'm an older person starting to develop arthritis and crap like that between this video games and doing other things and programming, doing the advent of code thing, if I think I'm going to lose my grip, I'm just going to hold the top of the keyway tensioner at current position, take the thicker pry bar, put it in the bottom of the keyway, and use my thumb, which will be a lot stronger, to then fully rotate that core because that pry bar is so thick, it's not going to bend, it's not going to lose tension, it's not going anywhere. And I can just hold the tension with that. So I am going to keep the 40 thousandths of an inch, but it's going to be a like tugboat type backup to the 25 thousandths of an inch if my hands get too tired. So again, so I guess we'll have the two tensioners as backup. We might be able to tension this at the bottom, and we might need backup from the 40 thousandths. But our main two things is we're going to be using the pry bar, the 25 thousandths inch gnarled, which adds a bit of texture so I can use it. And we are going to use, believe it or not, a classic short hook. The only person I have been able to find who specifically tackled the 740 is, if I remember correctly, it is the helpful lock picker, if I remember correctly. If it was actually the legal one, yell at me in chat. But I believe it was a helpful lock picker. And the thing about what he said, and we're going to keep this out as a backup, is that he used this offset hybrid deforested diamond. It's basically, it curves like a short hook, but has the head more of like a diamond. It's a weird shape. I've had progress with that. Did not have success with this lock doing that. I have had, ironically enough, with the normal short hook, even though sometimes it does get stuck with the gaps between the different key pins. So our main two tools are going to be the short hook and the 25 thousandths of an inch top of the keyway pry bar. As backup, we're going to have the deforest offset hybrid diamond. We're going to have the 40 thousandths of an inch pry bar just to add torque if I need to. And we're going to have the bottom of the keyway tensioner, because another crazy thing about this is that you can actually rake this in what's called a false set, meaning I can't rake the thing open, but if I do a kinetic attack, it will line up all the spool pins so that they give an entire false set, and it rotates, but it doesn't open. And then I can just go in and use my single pin picking superpowers to just target those false sets so I know where each spool pin is, even if it's all of them. So basically, instead of me single pin picking them into a false set, thus wasting time, I can just cut out the middleman and do that with the worm rake. And even though I haven't had any success with this because it's honestly too big, because that's what she said, the perfect thing for this, if it was thinner, would be the Medusa Pic, which besides having a really spiffy kind of design here, as a hybrid pick head that we showed last time when I showed the ARD, where it has two bumps, so I could rake it into a false set, take it out, flip it over, and then single pin picking. It's a single pin picking part that I have the issue with. So basically, all of this shit over here to the right of here is all optional. What we're going to be mainly focusing on is this top of the keyway 25 thousandths inch pry bar and this normal short hook from Sparrows with its thermal wraps, and we're going to tackle Master Lock Pro Series. And we're not going to go on to like break where there's music, but give me a couple of seconds because my mouth is completely run dry of fluids. I'm going to go quickly get some orange juice. But before I do that, and I'm going to post once again in chat from this when I walk off camera, is that we are trying to raise money for the Children's Miracle Network hospitals. Basically, by January 1st of 2022, yay, holy shit, we didn't die. But what we're going to try to do is we're trying to raise money, ideally $600 or more, towards sick kids across the United States and Canada, all the pediatric centers and children's hospitals. It's handled through Tiltify, so we don't touch any of the money. And even if we don't make that goal, all the money that you donate, even if it's just $1 or $5 or whatever, goes to these sick kids. I do this for fun, but it's always even better when I get to do this to help others. There's multiple ways to donate. I just post the donation link in chat. If you are on Twitch, we do have our own Tiltify widget where you can go in and donate without leaving the stream. And if you actually get the QR code to work, because I have to do a little bit of modification to make it easier to work, that will take your smartphone to the donation page. Lastly about this, as I said, if you follow us on Twitch Live or YouTube while we're streaming, you get notifications for that, and we cheer you on. But if you donate, not only do we super cheer you on and basically worship you the entire stream, even if you donate like $1, but you will be listed in that corner, such as the current top donation, Fee One Dead, who donated $69 nice dollars, bringing us to $269 nice dollars, which is literally $21 away from our actual halfway through our goal, and we still have an entire month left. So if you want me to worship you the entire stream and to encourage my pain and suffering, go donate $1 or $5, 20, 100, a billion, whatever, to help sick kids in the United States and Canada. Give me one moment. I'm not doing music. I'm just getting some orange juice. I wish you could all on the live stream see the weird ass version of the musical chairs that we're doing, because we basically bought a Walmart surprise worth of stuff for the rest of the month. And strangely enough, it's nothing to do with tech. So now that I've started drinking the orange Pango Bye Bye juice, that I'm going to have a little bit more of, and will wake me up during the stream, as they say in Jet Set Radio, let's get scratching. So again, as we established here, this has a spring-loaded tension core, so it actually resists you turning it. You have to put a bunch of pressure on it to actually turn the entire core, move that actuator out of the way to free the shackle. But that's not enough, because the shackle is not going to disengage until you either pull the lock body down from the shackle or pull that shackle up, pull it out of the lock body, and it clasps itself. It's also feels like it's key retaining, but it's not. When I push it back in, you can hear and I can feel that snap. So we're going to attempt to do this. This is either going to take a while. I'm going to give myself about 20 minutes tops to do this. And the last two times, I was able to pick this in seconds, which is one of the reasons why we're also going to gut this. So note, because of the recessed core here, right? Normally I love using the short end, because in my life I get the short end of the stick. But just like with certain people in the hacker community, this doesn't fully reach into the hole. So I'm going to use the other side, which has a slightly longer reach, which is more of my style, to literally give a reach around and go deeper into that hole in order to actually tension this. Now, here's the odd secret to higher security locks that I've noticed when tensioning. Because, again, every time I have not been able to open a lock properly, and I'm still learning this, each lock is its own special snowflake, as we say. So each lock, even if it's from the same manufacturer often has their own tensions. Each one basically does its one thing for you, right? And so how do you know what's too much tension and too little tension? Well, for light tension, as I've always said, if you're pressing on it and your finger starts turning white, as you can see on the camera, you have put way too much tension. Ease off on that, buddy. But more importantly, for like the Sparrow's high security practice locks, actual security locks, when I want to do light tension, here's my new trick. So as you can see how I always hold this lock body here, where I wrap my thumb in the meat of my hands around the lock body, and then this bottom part, because I'm doing the top of the keyway of the tension, is nestled in the meat of my palm. This allows my index finger to go completely straight and put on the tension, which means I have complete control over the tension. Here's how I do light tension. What I simply do is I let go in neutral, and I just rest where my index finger connects to my hand on the lock body and point my finger straight out. And that itty bitty amount of tension should just be enough to seize that entire lock body full of security pins, and then I can go in and futz around with them. So let's hope this goes. Also, there's a little bit of a paracentricness, has a little bit of an S curve here. So one of the other problems that I've had is the pins getting stuck in the lock body itself. Hopefully you won't have that problem this time. And the other problem too is I can see why Helpful Lockpicker uses a deforest diamond, and that is simply because it's also weird. I might have to sit down at one point. It literally has to do with the fact that if it's too much of a point on this particular lock, I do often get it caught between the different key pins. I feel on almost every pin a counter rotation. It's so bizarre. I also apologize for any grubbiness in my hand. So I'm going to take the tension off. You might hear the pins click. All right, so we're going to try this again. And what I personally find out works for me is going to the back to the front, which is interesting because Helpful Lockpicker went from the front to the back. And you just realize you can only see the top of my head, so let me just angle the camera down so you can just see the sweat and frustration on my face. Another thing about this too is I've also found out for this lock, which is one of the reasons why I'm talking with you folks, is that I have to have a certain amount of concentration. And yes, I am going to sit down because I've had that type of day. Ooh, crotch cam. I've had that type of day today, with just being all stiff upper lip and everything. Hold the table slightly closer to myself. One of these days, we're going to get like a chair that is way more equal to this table. But yeah, basically, there we go. What? Not now, later. Thank you, though. Yep. God, this really makes me look like I'm in like a high chair. It's so hilarious. Okay, so I got click on 2, as the lock picking of lawyers would say. Again, this lock might just be camera shy for no effing reason. Click on you. I think I'm putting too much tension again. That's what it is. Yeah, it's too much tension. So we're gonna, because here's the other thing, my hand's gonna wear out during this because this lock, you can't see it on here. It is really heavy. It's not as heavy as some of my other locks, but if I drop this lock on my foot, unlike some other locks which would just completely take away my entire foot, this would at least damage my foot, and I'd emit a Tom from Tom and Jerry type of scream. So that's the other thing with this. This is why, and this is why I'm looking into for next year. Next year, the Master of Unlocking is going to get an actual vise for the table. Are you wiping a window or skinning a kid? That was a weird sound I just heard. I think those are kids next door. So if you hear a kid being screamed alive, we're not actually doing that there. That's our neighbor's problem. One of our neighbor's problems. We're basically surrounded by crazy people on all sides. so used to holding this in my lower part of my body. Interpret that at what you will. Okay, so I think I'm in the false set here. Position. Ease some tension as I push some of these up. I think it's either number 3 or number 4. Seizing this here. I'm probably, unfortunately, going to have to give up and take another handbrake here. It's already happening with my thumb. Because I'm going to know, simply because this will like instantly turn, and I'll actually be able to turn it all the way instead of partly. Because right now I'm in a false set. It is rotated, but it's only rotated like 3 millimeters. It's not actually rotating like 90 degrees for me to open this. And again, this is surprisingly the air quote easy part. The hard part, hands down, is going to be when I get the proper tension on this, and I have to now hard tension this to rotate the entire lock body. And again, the other weird thing about this is my arms are all the way up here. I'm actually going to reset this, and I'm actually going to try to figure something out. See, like, I wish we had like a booster seat that can put me up to here, but unfortunately that doesn't exist. I'm going to try something really stupid that I should have probably tried off camera. Actually, this might be really hilarious. So, flatten this. This is going to be really funny. Okay. It's not perfect, but this is a hell of a lot more like it. This is more like it than I normally have it. As much as I'm probably not supposed to do this, and I'm going to clean the couch later. Let's try this again. I'm going to do that. I'm going to put that light tension technique that I talked about earlier. We're going to go in from the back up to the front. So that's what was working before for the both times I opened this. Still picking this farther away from my body than I would normally like to. Okay, that was, I think, click on 4. Feel the counter rotation, and it's stuck. Okay, I got it unstuck. That was close. Okay, there's 4. Get these other ones. 3, 2, 1 should be up here. It's giving me a hard time. Yeah, for me, when it comes to top of the keyway, the hardest pin to get is the one that's right behind the actual tensioner. Alright, I do have to take a handbrake here, but we do have progress, and this is the height I actually need to be at. So I think, like, before the end of the month, we're going to investigate in some sort of high chair. Because I'll put it this way, I am, like, currently the tallest person in the household. Let me actually pull this towards me. And I think that sometimes it gets lost on some people when they see us do shows, because just like the way my lady friends are, when you see me, Cyrusol, and Commander, we have everything normally set to our heights. So if we use something that's outside our height range, whether it's shorter than us or taller than us, you will definitely notice. And so what you don't kind of realize is that I'm definitely in the taller category where everything appears to be shorter to me than it actually is. Pull this all the way towards me. Sorry if it gets a little bit too quiet, more than my liking. Because what's weird is like, which is why I'm actually talking during this, is I'm like concentrating on what I am doing, but I'm also like not trying to concentrate fully, or I am guaranteed going to over tension this by accident or over set a pin and absolutely ruin whatever good luck I've had going. I accidentally slipped out, just like it does in real life. Close to my body. I'm sorry if you have a hard time seeing this. I might be giving full tilt to crotch hand. Give my hands another relax. I'm going to sip some more OJ here. As you can see, the glove doesn't fully fit on my hands. Some wrist rotations. The great part about when you're doing this to just practice is that you're not in the field. There's no one holding a gun to your head, thankfully. So, as I always tell people, when it wears your hands out, or if your hands get too arthritic or too stressed, just just stop for a bit and take a break and stuff. Do something else. Do something else for like 30 minutes, and then come back. All right, so we're gonna do that light tension again. Let me just do my hands so that way, hopefully, this tension wrench does not slip out. I'm gonna try back to front again. And if that doesn't work, I'm gonna go completely crazy, and I'm actually gonna try front to back with the way helpful lock picker did originally with this. And no, I'm actually not going to use a 15,000th of an inch. I have tried that with this, and it's actually not as helpful as I thought it would be, because I think these are steel springs in here instead of brass springs, so you do need some good amount of force. Yes, and this does have handles. It's just, again, I really should be picking this in a vise. And I have a good false set going on here. The problem is that, and thank you, lock picking Dev, by the way. The problem is that this lock, and you probably know because I think I saw you comment on our video, or on our post on Instagram, this lock is shockingly heavy for its size. So that's kind of an issue. I just realized with the camera. There we go. I think that's kind of the issue here, is that that's kind of the issue here, is which one's going to give me, now it's stuck, which one's going to give me counter rotation here? I think it's going to be in the front or in the back. That was the front, okay. Something reset. I'm going to have to take a break again. I often find for me that it's like right before I want to take a break, that's when these things just open for some reason. I also know that I'm probably horribly holding it wrong, but this is like my preferred relaxed technique. Reset it again. I'm gonna once again take a break with my hands here. Yeah, unfortunately, another problem here is this shrink wrap that Sparrows has is starting to come a bit undone here, so I might have to get another shrink wrap short hook and recut it again, even though this is still a huge, way huge improvement over my previous technique. Nope. Let's just kill my crotch with that, just like in real life. This is still a huge improvement over my previous everyday care. Okay, so I'm going to go a little nuts, and I'm going to go off script, and I'm actually going to try this front to back, just like helpful lock picker did. I'm going to see if we get a different result. Yeah, they do, and that's one of the reasons why finally, early next year, because I'll have bonus money by then, I am going to finally invest in a vise to use on this desk, because I'm pretty sure if I picked it like the way you pick like a door lock, this will be a lot easier to do for me. In a false set, I'm trying to find which one's actually going to give me the counter rotation. Provide I can feel for it. So they're all up in there. There's one in the front. Probably over tensioning it again. And if you're wondering why I wasn't looking in the camera, it's because that's what I usually tilt my head to the left when I try to truly like get in a brain mode to blind field. And again, open. I'm gonna take my glasses off. Actually, I've opened this one twice. It's just, again, I only did it twice, like literally a day and a half before, and probably camera shy. I was stubborn and refused one for the longest time. Yeah. Well, again, most of the stuff that when I do during training, like when I do the physical demos, I just have it, and it's an easier lock, so I can just open it and show people. This helpful lockpicker talked about this because he said the weight of it will kill your hands. And again, ironically enough, that is a I don't know why Restream bot's acting up for some reason, but that is the fact that it is heavy like that is actually a detriment to the lockpicker. So technically, well, while its weight probably was not intended as part of its security, it definitely accidentally did. So now that my hand's a bit more relaxed, so here's the thing. Whether or not I get it open on camera, and I do have pictures of with this thing open, and I single pin picked it. But regardless of if it opens or not, I am going to, we are going to attempt to gut this one and see what's been giving me problems. Now, I would love to ideally open it on camera, and I'm going to give myself a lot of time to do so. I would love to open this on camera after I have successfully picked this open. But that may or may not happen. Let's see how everything goes here. Seems like the back pins are set. The weight's now getting into my hands. This happened both times. It was like, oh, here we go. All right, it's picked. And see, this is what I mean about. Oh shit. Fuck. See, that's just what happened. I was right about to grab the pry bar, and basically it just again that spring core was so strong. It pushed the pry bar out. That's 25 thousandths. I've opened it completely with the pry bar once before, but let's try that again. And as soon as I realize it's going to open, I will get and this is where I wish I had like 3 hands. I'm going to get this pry bar, this 40 thousandths of inch pry bar as insurance. Like I kind of wish there was like a 32 or something thousandths of an inch pry bar or something like that. Yeah, they do. And funny enough, from what I've read, I think this is the only one that, like, I think all of them are spring tension core, but I think this is the only one that, like, has a spring tension core but doesn't have a spring for the shackle. It's so bizarre, and it oddly, in my opinion, adds to the security of this lock, like, in the weirdest fucking way. I think something fell when you said it, and I got my pick stuck. Yeah, that's what she said. So I'm now even more determined than ever to actually pick this one open. And when we do that, if I feel like I'm starting to lose the grip, and that's why I'm pulling it closer to my body, I will grab this 40,000, stick it to the bottom of the keyway, and use that to turn it because it won't bend. Yes?
Do you need a third hand?
Possibly.
Let me know.
Okay. Because what I'll do is I won't turn it any further. I'll just hold it there until the pry bar comes in. This is like one of those locks where you kind of need like, it's like, I feel like a magician where it's like, can my apprentice come in? No, because trust me, Searsell has been a lot better doing this ever since I came in the picture, and I'm really proud of that, both for him and my teaching ability. And again, the more that I talk with chat and that I'm not concentrating on this, like I have to do this weird type of concentration where like I am actively trying to test the pins and feeling the counter rotation and stuff. But I know if I over concentrate, I will overset pins or over tension and stuff, and we're not going to get an open for the life of me. And it's kind of weird because especially with heavier locks like this, it's almost like you're doing like a speed run. Like this should be like on like Games Done Quick or something, because essentially like the more I'm trying to pick this, the more tired my hands are going to get. And so like I'm like literally fighting the clock of when the muscles on my hands wear out. Okay. So I believe we're back into a false set again. This is why I'm glad that even with 25 thousandths of an inch, I'm really happy that these are the gnarled, gnarled top of the keyway pry bars from Sparrows, literally simply because that gnarledness is the reason. Like when I had the previous pry bars and I had like way wider lock keyways so that these pry bars would fit. Unfortunately, for some reason, the big ones, they at least at the time, they didn't have them gnarled. And essentially, they were so smooth that there was too many times that I don't have that problem anymore with these gnarled ones where I would be so close to actually opening the lock and basically it would slip out of my hand because they were smooth. That gnarledness, believe it or not, even with just the little bit of texture, adds to, reset again, just adds to like the friction so I can hold the pry bar in place during it's open, especially because I'm dealing with this obnoxious spring tension. That's like a big deal, and that's why the next one, even if I'm able to properly rotate it with this pry bar, I'm going to have the other thicker one at the bottom of the keyway. That's it. It's kind of like I wish I could mentally, like I wish I could use the 25 thousandths to pick it, and then like right when it like needs the tension here, I can then just blink and it turns into 40 thousandth and then turn the whole thing. Like I kind of wish that's how it worked. Hey, Cheryl. No, it's okay. You're actually at the exciting part. I was explaining this lock earlier that this is the Master Lock Pro Series 740. Oddly enough, because it's a Pro Series and I, for some reason, could not find the other packaging that kind of talks about this. Usually Master Locks have this bullshit number rating. The Pro Series packaging doesn't have the number rating because I guess they advertise or assume that because it's Pro, that means it's the highest quality security, which, you know, it has definitely security on it, but I've already opened it twice lockpicking at my measly skill level, so it's not exactly, definitely pick resistant, but not pick proof. I did mention that from the research I've seen, these are full of spool pins, so I'm dealing a lot with counter rotation. And finally, which is the actual part that's kicking my ass, is not the spool pins or even the recessed, slightly paracentric keyway. No, what's been literally killing my ass is simply that, one, this lock is heavy to hold in your hand, and two, and most importantly, that that the core is heavily, shockingly heavily spring tensioned. But the shackle is not. So you have to like really, once the pins are set, you have to like push really hard to rotate. It's push really hard to rotate this core so that it moves the actuator for the shackle to open. And the shackle's not going to pop open. I actually have to switch hands and pull the shackle out in order to properly open it. To reorient myself to figure out where everything is here. I think I'm in the full set already. Something drops back there. Go back. That's set. Let's rekey some locks this weekend, including using my smart key battery setter, so that was fun. What is DALP again? What? I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to chat. Tight like a tiger. Keep forgetting it because I think before I've said this where like DALP to me sounds way too much like DILF. So I keep forgetting what it's called, Dark Arts, what you mean by Delph. And again, for some reason, even though we've had a proper episodes distance apart from here, I feel like it's been 3 months, so you might have to re-educate me on some of the terminology that my old fart brain doesn't seem to want to remember anymore. Can't tell, but I think I've over-tensioned this again. Dark Arts Lockpicking. I'm stupid. That's your actual name. That's the acronym for your name. Are you gonna get a shirt that says DALP on it, you know? So it's like it's like Dads I Like to Pick or something like that. I don't know. That would be hilarious. Oh, I wish this log wasn't so heavy. I wish the spring core wasn't this nutty. Because again, it's not, the spool pins aren't throwing me off. The spool pins are actually throwing me off simply because I'm fighting the spring core. Because it's not just that the core is spring tension. The core is spring tension in such an asshole way. Dalp is Dalp. There's a t-shirt for you in your store. Dalp is Dalp. Rule number 1 about DALP, you don't ask what DALP stands for looking at Sidepocket. Yeah, the thing is that it, like, again, as I showed with the key, and I might do that when I go on a short break here, is, yeah, I totally, like, if you send me a shirt or if I'm able to afford it, I would totally wear a Dark Arts Lockpicking shirt on my stream, as well as, like, to conventions and stuff. This is actually a shirt. The number pad one I'm wearing with the anime girl is actually a shirt that a friend of mine got for me recently. So they were really awesome and cool. I think almost I think at like a super full set. Right now we're in a full set, but we're not in like the max full set. And even though I haven't had that much success with this, I'm actually on my next pick, just because it'll be like easier for me to use. I'm actually going to see if I can do the, I'm actually going to do that right now. I'm going to see if I can use that offset hybrid. And there might be a delay, but I figured out that was actually his username, because I'm so used to like lock stuff where it's like everything, it's like NASA, everything has like a acronym to it. So I was just like racking my brain. I'm also, again, kind of concentrated on this, but not really. Man, it's just wearing out my hands. I think I might have like 3 or 4 proper pick attempts in me. And hopefully, if I'm one of these, it actually rotates, that I won't lose it like I did last time. And again, I can show you with the key here. Like, you can see visually, because I'm going to gradually rank up the tension, how much you have to, like, fight. And, like, the more you turn, the more the spring tensions again. So it's, like, super pushing back now. And I have to use, like, all the force in my hands and my wrist and pull the shackle to get that out. That's what's killing me. And once the shackle's out, the spring tension is out, which is going to be interesting when I gut this thing. It has nothing to do with, like, spool pins are definitely not helping. But what really sucks is that spring tension core, and the fact that, again, the harder I rotate it, even if it's slightly, the more the core rotates, the more it actually pushes back. That really kills me on this. So we had 2.5 temp. Let's go in with the offset hybrid, and let's see if I can properly more tension this correctly at the top of the keyway. Let's see. It's right there. Let's see how this goes. I also haven't tried this yet with the monkey paw, which actually, considering how much there's like weird gaps in these pins, that actually might work. That will make me die laughing if that's the case. Okay, something drops back there. Yep, okay, so we got a false set going on. Let's figure out which one's doing counter rotation. I think it's blue. It's one of these ones in the front, I think, is doing it. So that first pin in the front. Actually looking to the lock to do this. 4. 4 is doing it. Let's see if I can. Oop. Lost that first front pin there. Hope I didn't overset these. I did something slip. Nope. Still on that. It's false set, but now it's a different false set. Yeah, I think in one of these attempts, I'm going to switch back to this short hook. I think in one of these, I'm actually going to do the monkey paw, see if I get a better feel. And honestly, I actually haven't tried to pick this, although it might be too big for the keyway. Kilmer's bone pick that he sent me. It might also help. Which one are you? Just gonna release that. I'm actually curious now. Let's actually get. No, that's the medium hook, 15,000 inch. Let's get you back here. Let's get the monkey paw, which even though this handle is easier to grab, I'm thinking of actually getting this in one of the normal Sparrow's handles instead of these giant ones. And I just want to see if maybe the notch in it will give me like a better feel, so it doesn't feel like I'm just sloppily going around all the pins and stuff. And I think after this attempt, I'm definitely going to hydrate, and then after a couple more attempts, we get open, great. Even if it's just I slip again, if not, that's fine. We're still going to gut this thing and see what it is. So for once on Master of Unlocking, we won't have like a waste of the episode if we don't get it open. I'm going to do the proper tension on here. Let's set it like that. Let's find out. I'll go front to back. Okay, 2, 3, 4. Nice, yeah, I'm still using these crappy Logitech cameras. I mean, they work. They're in HD and the microphones work. The reason why, I mean, technically the Elmo's in HD, but it's not the highest quality Elmo. We actually do have a much better Elmo, but it's a big pain in the ass to set up. And that's also why it's at such a lower frame rate, because this is technically more of a document scanner than, but it does do high-res close-ups, which is what I really need for the show. I don't really need high frame rate. I think we might be in the false set. I will say, it kind of does feel like I am doing better with the monkey paw, even though it's more digging into my hands. It more feels like with that notch at the angle, I have even though it keeps getting caught in certain sections, I feel like I have a better like understanding of what order of the pins that go in. Okay, so that's more of a false set. Which one of you is being done? And the weird part, once again, is that like the last 2 times I did this, it just opened. It's like boop. It seems like there's almost like 2 modes for this lock. It's either big pain in the ass, big chungus like it is right now, or it just opens in like 3 seconds. Kind of wish I could have saved that second open energy for this one. I need my big lock-picking lawyer energy right now. And covert instruments. You can see how, like, because I've been dealing with other lock bodies, how dirty my index finger is. Seems like I am getting progress with the monkey paw though. Oh, feel something giving. Something's got to give. Oh, here we go again. This one I think I can fully open just by turning it. Or not. Hang on. Do my backup. We're going to put this bottom of the keyway. Can. And that's just giving me lip. There we go. It's turning. We have it all the way turned, and then if I pull the shackle, why are you not? What did you do? There we go. Oh, come on, really? Needs a little bit more. Okay, why are you stuck? Why is it stuck like this? I don't want to break this lock. There we go. I like overdid it. But yep. I'm now in a position. We have an open. This exact, like, slightly almost 90-degree angle where the shackle is open. And I picked it. And the keys are already all the way over here. So yeah, I just needed a bit more feel and control with the monkey paw. Thank you, Lock Noob, for designing this thing. You can get this at Sparrows, both in the handle and normal. But yeah, you can see what I meant. I had to actually use this other pry bar, put it at the bottom of the keyway to like tension it open, because like this is, I almost am worried that this pry bar is going to pick it in half. Woo! Yep. So I am going to release the tension off of this. Just let it fall out. And it's going to stay that way because, again, see how it's spring loaded? That is how hard the spring is. That spring in that core is just holding. Come on. Is just holding that core right in there. This is completely open. Like, I'd probably have to, like, nudge it in order to, like, turn it back. Oh, that's the pry bar. That's the big chungus. Let's put the other one we did. So I actually have to rotate it back in order for those pins to lock up. So yeah, if we put another tension wrench in, you can see it's locked back up, even though it's open. And when I do this, it snaps back into place. So yeah, it took a lot more embarrassingly long than I thought it would. That's what she said. I do want to demo one more thing before we go on a quick music break for like 2 minutes, just so I can replace my hands with real human hands. And then we're going to use the Sparrow's Repinning Kit and some other tools. And we're going to take apart this motherfucker and see what was causing all the problems inside. But I do want to show something kind of cool. We're going to use a bottom of the keyway tensioner for this, because if you stop the keyway tensioner, it's going to shoot out. Lockpick Dead said the serrations on the pry bar help a ton. Wish they were slightly sharper sometimes, though. I definitely had tons fly out picking these Pro Series. Yeah. And again, the problem is not like these top of the keyway pry bars, especially the gnarled ones, are excellent. Especially since they come in a range and they fit in the key. And I think the new super heavy ones are also gnarled. The issue has nothing to really do with the pry bars that Sparrow or anyone else has made. What really kills this thing is that spring tensioner. It's like almost that spring tensioner was designed by someone by Master Lock who was sick and tired of Master Lock being the butt, the joke of everything, and they put that in there just to give us all early arthritis in our mid-20s. So like that's why I feel like it's in there. But I do want to show something really cool now that I've opened it on air. And I'll probably timestamp this, even though it took like probably like an hour and a half to open this because my hands were just getting tired. What you can do, which again is like they do in speed picking, is we're going to use this worm rake. And I'm going to see if I can actually put this into a false set, and then we can actually go in and figure out, because they're all in a false set, which ones are doing counter rotation. I haven't been able to open it this way, but I've had success with it. So I'm going to take the same thing. I'm going to put the same amount, because it's bottom, so now the top part is going to be embedded in the meat of her hand. I'm gonna do the motion here, and it seems like the worm break's the best because again, you know, I was getting stuck with that normal. We need to hold it this way. I was getting stuck with that normal. Ooh, I have no. Actually, I need to tilt this completely over here and hold this close to my body because that's how much I'm tired. But you know how with that short hook, I with that short hook, I was getting stuck. It seems like the triple peak does the same thing. So that's why I'm using the worm rake, because since it's slightly rounded, it seems to glide across. Yep, that's the false. Oh, you gotta be, really? I think I actually raked this lock open. That's like a 1 in 1,000 chance. Because it's turning more than normal. I'm turning it. It's 90 degrees. I can turn it a bit more. And that's a fun security feature. There we go. Slightly left. Yep, I actually raked this open. You're not supposed to do this with the Pro Series 7040s. So maybe I killed my hands for an hour and a half just so that I could rake this open in a couple of seconds. Although, to be a note, ladies and gentlemen, if you do decide to go on a date with me, that's how good I am with my hands. Provided you don't weigh heavy, provided you're not a lot that weighs heavier than a full-size dog, and you don't have weird counter-rotation spring tension. But yeah, I'm definitely time-stamping this where I just raked this guy open. I'm going to see if I can repeat that again. I'm going to relock that. Because like I said, it's not that it's impossible to, are you okay? It's not that it's impossible to rake a like entirely spool pin thing open. It's just, it's supposed to be so uncommon that you're basically deterred from it and you're better single pin picking. And that would actually be really scary for me for a first time student doing this, because they might, like what I did, first time rake it open one shot and think that this works every single time. This is why even when I tell people, and while we're not going to do this on air today, this is why I tell people that even if you single pin pick something open, to relock it and try it again. I was just trying to get into a false set. I did it again. Huh. Wow, the Sparrow's Worm really does wonders. This wasn't supposed to be an ad for them, but okay. I mean, to be fair, again, when you look at these keys, I don't know if all the Pro Series are like this, but for those of you who missed the beginning of the video, get this in frame. These are the keys for this, and as you can see, the bitting is ridiculously flat. Like, if we compare it to my clear padlock keys that are supposed to design to be the shittiest padlock in the world, it's very similar to that type of bitting, where it's almost completely flat. And if we take the actual spool trainers that I have out, you can see that with its high-low, high bitting with the spools, which I can also easily pick open, that's a way better security method. This actually scares me a bit as someone who trains, because I could totally see people getting a false sense of security from this. So while this is definitely going to go to my trainer kit, I'm going to insist on people to single pin pick this lock still. Because one, it's a great practice for spools and tensioning, but two, I'm now worried that someone might get these Pro Series, like, I don't know if this one's on R lock picking, but I'm afraid someone's going to get this thinking it's like a way higher security lock, which it technically is against the Master Lock number 3s and 15s and stuff like that. And able to rake this open just due to random chance of this having such a flat bitting, and thinking that all raking works on all high security locks when they don't. Huh. That is bizarre. It's actually the point where I'm going to do one last thing before we gut this. I'm actually going to see if I can... One, I actually haven't tried a city rake on this. And two, I actually want to see if the Medusa will do anything. Darkrat says, wonder if it would bump open then. It might. Unfortunately, I don't know unless someone wants to tell me what exactly this type of key is. I don't know if it's proprietary to Master Lock or not. But if I'm able to get a key blank for this, I could make bump keys out of these. And then we could test that theory because I'm planning on getting a proper bump hammer anyhow. See, the problem with the Medusa is that this is still too big for its lock body. So it does get stuck. Although I have been able to get this. Because what I was trying to do with the other thing was I was trying to put it in a false set like it is right now. And then go in with the with a single pin pick. And then find each one of them like a hybrid picking method. I was not expecting to successfully rake this open twice. And again, I chalk this to how flat the bidding is on this particular one. I'd have to buy another one of these 740s to see if all the bidding is this flat. Because it looks really bad. For Master Lock in particular, that has all that, I know because when we open it, that has all these security functions that can just be raked open like a Master Lock number 3. I've had other high security locks where just due to random chance and because they don't really pay attention to the bidding, that the bidding was really flat. So once you knew all the other security things, you could either false set rake it really goddamn fast, or you could rake the thing open in one go. And again, gives a pun semi-intended a false sense of security. Simply because, you know, this is going to sound a weird analogy, and I know it's like sex-based, but it's really the most apt analogy. So one of the things that I talk about is that there's a reason why, unfortunately, a lot of men really want to deal with, like, virgins. Yep, just single pin picked it. You can turn it enough that it doesn't properly disengage. But, so yeah, I raked it into a false set with the 2-bump Medusa. And because I couldn't really turn it around properly because it's too big, I just went in with another single pin pick and opened it. But there's a whole thing about why a lot of males in societies like aim for virgin women. Who likes virgin? Literally. Because the idea is that these women have no idea what sex is. So when you have sex with them, it's the first time, meaning you can literally do anything and they'll think it's the best thing ever, as opposed to someone who actually has had sex before and know what they're doing. And that's kind of my fear with this particular Pro Lock that I got, is that I'm going to be like, oh, it's security pins and all this stuff. And so you need a single pin picket. And someone's going to be like what I just did, but I could rake it open just fine. And it has nothing to do with all of that, and has everything to do with, once again, that Master Lock has just really shitty random bidding, so half the time you get really flat bidding, so no. Just much like its cousin with the Master Lock 140, even though this one has a single spool in it, which, you know, according to lock standards should be like, oh my god, this is impossible, you can still, and watch, this one's probably camera shy, you can still... It's because my hands are always ready. Rake these open, no problem, because if I dug the key out for this, you would see that it's as flat bidding as the Pro Series 740. So even though it has a spool pin in it, it doesn't defeat it. And it seems like, despite my theory of this being chock full of security pins, mainly spool pins, it might suffer the same fate. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to, I don't need to sit down anymore. I'm going to push this table forward so I can escape. I'm going to put the chair of death back, which now I have to probably reclean the couch again. And we are going to go. I feel very proud of myself that I was able to now, after a half an hour, open this multiple times. This happened to me the first time I opened a Master Lock number 3. This happened to me when I opened, which was actually shockingly difficult because of how heavy it is. Master Lock number 15 is that you will struggle with this thing for hours on end, days on end, weeks on end. And then at some point, bam, it just clicks with you, and then you can just open that type of lock every single time you just slightly think about it and you fart. So I think that's what kind of happened here, is I was struggling with this for like a day and a half, and now I'm just opening it like crazy. But that's not the end of this episode, folks. What we're going to do is I'm going to go on a break. I'm going to chop off my hands and put on better hands. I'm going to refill so I can get the Charles Day sugar in my body so I can be hyperactive as he is on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And what we're going to do is we're going to use the Sparrows Repinning Kit that I got a while back and a couple of other tools over here, so we can actually put some of these picks away. And we're going to gut this lock. We're going to go up its guts, and we are going to see what was causing me problems for half an hour. We're going to see how Master Lock built this lock, take all the pins out. Hopefully nothing will fly everywhere. And yeah, new hands, rehydrate, repin. So stay around for about, I would say, a minute to max 5 minutes. And we're going to put on some music. And then we're going to do all of that. And when that's done, we're going to end the episode. And if you're on Twitch, we're going to raid someone's channel. Before I do go on my break, I do want to remind again that if you thought that was awesome, please, please, please donate $1 or $5, $10, $20, as much as you want, as much as you can give, because I know I'm broke, so I have a hard time giving, to the charity we're doing that's right above my head, where we're trying to raise at least $600 by January 1st to the Children's Miracle Network Hospitals. That is a charity that assists hospitals across the United States and Canada to redistribute funds that people donate in, because all of these pediatric centers and children's hospitals were already understaffed, underfunded, supplied, under the thumb of a lot of politicians before the pandemic happened, because we don't give a crap about kids in America, and we have no concept of what insurance is as Americans. COVID exacerbated that a fuck ton. So there's even more dire need, COVID or not, to help these hospitals help sick kids, whether it's mental disability, whether it's physical and mental disabilities, mental trauma, physical trauma, accidents, getting infected by diseases other than COVID, cancers, etc. For that. And we just think this would be a great way to end the holidays. So as we go on break, if you want to donate, even if it's just $1 or $5, and any donation that you put in, even if we don't meet our goal, can be handled through Tiltify. We don't touch any of the money, and it's going to go straight to this goal. So if we don't make the goal, it's going to go straight to the Children's Miracle Network hospitals and distributed all across the United States and Canada to help sick kids. So there's 3 ways to do it. If you're on Twitch, you can scroll below. We have a little widget for Tiltify. So it's donating, and shout out to, yet again, Fee One Dead. He did this on purpose so we can constantly say his name and what he put in, for his top donation of $69 nice dollars, which brought us $269 nice dollars, which is literally $21 away from our goal. If you want to donate more, and if you want to donate more than $69, you want to donate more than niceness to knock his ass off the leaderboard so we can stop saying his name, even though we think he's awesome. We're so glad that he donated. If you're on Twitch, we have a Tiltify widget right at the bottom to donate. I'm going to make a better QR code by the time Tuesday comes around, but if you're able to get that working, that takes you directly to there on any device you scan it on. And as you're going to see on break, I'm going to put the URL directly in chat so you can go and donate. And again, when you donate, just like when you follow us on Twitch TV Live or YouTube or talk with us in chat, I get all the notifications for those, and I cheer you on. If you donate, even if it's just $1, I basically worship you the entire stream, and basically my hands fall off again because I will then extra torture myself. So yeah, I'm going to go do all of that. On break, new hands, orange juice. I have to go past the purple stuff to get it. And we're going to take apart this lock and see why this thing was a pain in the butt. Enjoy the music. See you in a couple of seconds. And I'm going to temporarily go on face, so we are now back. Ta-da! Tarantula head is back. Yeah, we just took a short break, so even though this looks like my hands I had before, I literally just popped them out of the sockets and put new hands back in. Socket rhymes with pocket. And we're back and doing this. So for anyone who missed the break, that was playing Waiting for the Sun instrumental by Approaching Nirvana. That sounds like a song they play in Bayonne. Welcome to the Master of Unlocking. This is the show where I teach one of my two shows every first and third Sunday of the month on locks and how they are made, how they are built, how they work, if there's any security flaws in them, and how we can exploit those security flaws in order to open locks without keys. And it can be padlocks, door locks, combination locks. If it's a physical security system, we take a look at it. Even the terrible Bluetooth ones. And so what I've been doing is essentially apparently wasting my time single pin picking this Master Lock Pro Series 7040 when I found out that apparently now I can just easily rake them even though that didn't work before. And in addition to that, and the fact that this has a ridiculously spring-loaded tension core, which means it takes 1,000,000 years to turn. As Cyril said, he guesses that it's about 5 pounds. That there is no spring for the actual shackle, so you actually have to pull the shackle out while it's being tensioned. I just want to see what Master Lock engineering actually looks like. So we're going to swap over to the table cam. I'm starting to sound like my mentor, Night Owl. Here, I'm going to also copy and pasta that. Once again, just as a reminder, we are trying to raise $600 by January 1st of 2022 for the Children's Miracle Network hospitals. We partner with hospitals all across the United States and Canada to give funds for facilities to help sick kids. And this was a problem before COVID-19. It's even worse during the pandemic. No, I didn't say after the pandemic. During it. We're still going through this. Doesn't feel like it. If you live next to New York, it's going to feel like it really soon. And so we just thought a great way to celebrate the holidays is to give money to help sick kids all across the United States and Canada. And so far we have raised $269. Nice. Because of One Dead, who donated $69, who's our top donator, who again is also nice, literally and figuratively, and $60.90. And that means we are literally $21, if I did the math correctly, to being $300, which is halfway to our goal. And we just started December. We're going to be doing an absolute metric crap ton of live streaming. I'm about to step off camera and do something really gross that you're going to use your imagination to guess what I'm doing. That was the FBI rating us. Either that or you leveled up like your charisma or something. So, because I saw the microphone spike when the notification came in.
Yeah, I've got some good news kind of immediate. So,
That's hush hush or
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I'll just show you the screen real quick.
Okay. Yay! Cool. I can't wait to announce that at our meeting, which you should totally check out. I believe on the 17th, and we should have details later this week about what you can expect there, but it's going to be on the 17th, probably between 5 and 8 p.m., but we're going to figure out more details in that. In fact, we're going to be posting something this afternoon. I don't even know what time it is, but we're going to be posting something after the stream in which you'll be able to help us out with that. Anyhow, back to this thing. So, again, there's so much weirdness going on. It's this Master Lock Pro Series 740. Despite it being a Pro Series, it doesn't have a rating like the way the other Master Locks have ratings on them. So there's no 1 to 10 bullshit rating, which is normally good. But you would think with the Pro Series, they'd be able to classify on their number system what sort of a rating it is. They're not, because they're jackasses. This also has, I believe, a bunch of security driver pins in here, which wouldn't be too much of a problem. As you can see, I picked them open. I even raked them open. The issue is that it has a ridiculous spring for the spring-loaded tensioner on here. And yet, there is no spring for the shackle. And there's a bunch of other baffling design decisions that, because this is a rekeyable. This is a recorable padlock, meaning I can remove the core out of it. We're about to do some good old locksmith sort of like medical dissection here, and we are going to find out what the effing fuck is in this lock that makes it the way it is. So as that focuses, I just got a brain fart of something that I'm going to grab from the other corner because I'm basically getting an object that I think might be around the same size. This might work. Worst comes to worst, everything flies everywhere, and that will be fun. It's actually one of the reasons why, pro tip number one, if you go to dissect a lock, even if you have a pinning mat, get essentially a large flat bowl to put it in, because as you take it apart, there's sprigs and pins that can fly everywhere. And in addition to the mat catching them, as you see when we've done repinning before on this show, the springs, especially if they're steel springs, are so incredibly strong that they will fly everywhere. Like it will literally go from this table into the other room. So having a bowl, so if it launches up, it falls back within the bowl and rolls back to the center. Very, very helpful. All right, body, do you want too much saliva or no saliva at all? This is what happens when you start becoming a middle-aged man. You have like only extremes. There's no middle ways. One more sip and I think I'm good. So anyhow, we're not picking this open again. I mean, if we wanted to a joke, we could rake it open, but my hands are fucking tired. So we're going to take the keys and we're just going to open it the old-fashioned way. Now that that's out, I'm going to pull the key out here. Although I mean, I'm probably going to use the key later. And I don't know if we can see it in here. I'm going to zoom. So I'm going to focus. And I'm going to turn the light on. And besides the little ball bearing on your left, what you can see there is not a screw, which a lot of the locks I have where they have repinnable cores have, but instead there's a little hex nut in there. And so what we're going to do is, and I recently just got this, and it's been a little loose here, is I got this cheap-ass Allen wrench set. Now, if I remember correctly, when I looked it up, it should be the 7/64, because I don't know how to read this shit. 7/64. Thank you, sir. Yep. Hex wrench.
What a weird size.
Should be able to open it. Yeah. Remember when you were, because I had Cyril try to open this? Yep, fits exactly. And he was like, nothing I have fits.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's why, because Master Lock in their infinite wisdom decided to use the weirdest hex wrench size you could possibly use. This is going to take a bit, because when these are even normal screws, often it takes like 8 to 12 rotations in order to take this out. I'm starting to feel the retaining pin cover turn. So we might be able to disengage and dump this out. Yep, there it goes. Wow, that is... See, if you ever want to see how deep this screw goes, come on, you can find it. That looks like my vision. For comparison, this is the key. That's how deep in the lock body this thing goes. Still blurry? No, it's not. I'm going to give it to Cyril so you can see how long this pin is.
Damn.
Yeah, this screw I made. I've seen longer ones than that. Innuendo semi-intended. Alright. So what we can do now is this face covering. I should be able to hold it in place with my index, and then this retaining bit can slide out. There we go. That's what this screws into. Like I can literally take the screw and take the end bit and like with my hands screw it into each other. Although I am debating putting some lube on it before I reassemble it, just so everything is smoother. So that's literally how it screws into the lock body here. Actually, let me put my glasses back on. I can see everything now. All right, so we are in focus. I'm going to unscrew this. Something I wish the United States government would do. And we're going to put this actually in the tray off to the side. So now that that's out, I'm going to actually use these pair of pliers here. I'm going to attempt to slide out the front cover. I don't need to do this, I just don't want everything to fall apart instantly. The front cover is gone. And now I'm going to plop this in my hand. Should just come out, there we go. And that was the core. So now it's hollow inside. You can see in the back there, that little lip is the actuator, and the end part of the core is exactly its opposite side, so it goes in. Now, what's really fascinating about this is that there is no little piece of metal wafer in the back, which tells me that if it was possible, you should be able to actually do a bypass for this. I'm not going to test that now, but in theory, that should work. Lockpicking this is, I always strip those nuts. Pretty sure you strip a lot of nuts, Lockpicking Dev. I've seen your Instagram, which you should go follow them on Instagram and Twitter. They're awesome. So here's the core, which is really slippery and disgusting in my hands because it's full of lube. This is going to be one of those episodes. You can actually see where they drilled past. So this core can actually take up to 6 pins. Because when they do drilling, they do it sloppy, so they do it directly through the core itself. But I can guarantee, and we can actually count. I'm actually going to take a pick tool and count. A city rake will have a good flat edge for this. There should only be 5 pins in here. So even though I could have done the block body, I'm going to do this here. I'm going to put it in push up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 pins. Now, here's the part that's disturbing me right here. Okay, there is a C-clip. Earlier models of this apparently did not have C-clips. So that's why I was being careful in the front, because I didn't know if this was an older model, meaning that I was worried that if I just let everything slide out, the whole thing would have came apart. I did not want that to happen because that already happens enough times in my life. So here's going to be the annoying part. And the C-clip is what holds the body, the core, inside the lock body with the Bible at the top. So what we're going to attempt to do, I'm going to use this screwdriver because I don't have a C-clip remover to push the C-clip off. And then I'm going to figure out, even in the most ass way possible, because I don't have a core that exactly fits this. And you definitely do, Lockpicking Dev. If I can slight this, remove the core, and then that way we can take the pins out. And then while I might not do this on air, I will Humpty Dumpty this and put this back together again. So we're going to take the C-clip out. This is always annoying. I basically have to hold the top here and like push it off if I can. This is why, here's another advertisement for Sparrows. This is why Sparrows has a dedicated, it's funny enough, again, designed by Lock Noob. I feel like half the stuff I own is designed by that brilliant British man. Real James Bond, as I like to call him. They actually sell this thing called a gut wrench, and it literally has cutouts and stuff for removing C-clips so you don't have to do this bullshit asinine method that I'm doing here. Ugh, almost off. Let's get my hands dirty. By the way, just in case anyone's curious, because I get this asked all the time, that when you disassemble locks, or if you're dealing with like particularly like old locks or new locks with a lot of lube, what do you use? well, I don't have one of these here, and I think Cercel's going to pass the other thing to me. My high recommendation is you treat it like you're working on a car, and you use a thing called lava soap. You can get it in bar form or liquid form. And what that will do is it's made of certain chemicals, and it has an abrasive element in it. So it like literally it's designed to take motor oil off your hands. And the other thing I recommend is blue. No, is blue shop towels. You can use also like a dedicated like hygienic rag, and or you can use normal paper towels, but you'll be using a lot of them. The blue shop towels will work like normal paper towels for most other messes. So I'll be using that off screen later when I go to wash my hands. There we go. So we got the C-clip off. That was that bastard right there. It looks like a little horseshoe, right? And now here comes the annoying part, because I think, just like in real life, the C-clip just is partially magnetic. Hey, it's actually partially magnetic. Huh. See, the screwdriver's magnetic, so followed it. Yeah, this is like a melon through a straw. This is way too big. Basically, I don't have, unless Searcell has ideas, I don't really have, yeah, something of this size. I could technically use my pinky finger, but that would be really, and there's ways where I could do it, where I don't need the follower. It's just going to be really tricky.
Okay.
It is tiny. It just says I have the gut wrench, but I've never gotten the hang of it. I use the quick set pickle tool and the traveler hook. Yes, it's actually called the quick set pickle tool.
Looking for a, it might be in for Sharpie marker.
Sharpie marker? Jeez. Let's find out. Let me just take a sip. Might. We're going to find out, folks. So this is how you do it, asshole bootleg method. And here's, I'll just grab a bunch of other thin ones. So like what we did with the Schlag, what we're going to do is I'm going to put my finger on the back since the C-clip is out. Is we're going to put the original key in, and then we're going to rotate it. See, there's no spring in here, so it can rotate. It's a little bit stiff. That's why I'm going to put lube in this. I actually lubed this up before I did that. 30 degrees. And we're going to take our plug follower. And we're going to stick that. And actually, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. You don't need to be this close up to see it in focus. And take our plug follower, which again, a lot. I know locksmiths and physical lock pickers, lock sporters for years, and all they have is different sized wooden dowels. Like you don't need like the exact Schlag metal thing. Like it's as long as it's just like in real life. As long as it fits, it works. We're going to use our plug follower. In this case, this is a yellow dry erase marker. And I'm going to press on the back of this. And if I did this correctly, what this should do is, and okay, so I'm going to actually push this back in if I can. Let's try that. Nope. Oh boy. So I'm just going to very slowly move our plug follower. But that already took that out. So I already took 2 pins out, so I'm actually just going to... The good thing is that the driver pins should not be sized. So I will use the tweezers that I figure out. Yeah, the problem, which I realized, that dip. It needs to exactly, yeah. So the pins are already coming out, so I'm going to remove what has already come out so far, which means I won't know the order. But you're going to see pieces of what I've been talking about here. So we have 2 springs. Spool number 1. That spool number 2 is actually partly stuck in, just like it's supposed to. So actually what I can do is, this is going to go I'm going to do it left to right, so now I already know the order. Check to see what's too thin. Too thin.
Also try to cap some
Still too thin. Oh, where's that yellow mark over? It's too snug. Ideally, what we would have is this nub or the front part cut off. But again, I can do this the bootleg way as well. Oh, there's the other. Alright, so didn't notice this guy here. So once I get the other pins, I should know. I'm just going to do this the most bootleg way I can. I'm still going to slowly pull out. Next one should pop out. Yep. Oh, that was weird. Oh, I'm stupid. I forgot we were rotating this. This is why you should actually go to college. Okay, so I think there's only 2 more pins in the front. So that just popped out. That should be number 2. It's interesting because I also don't know which direction they go in, but right now they all seem to be even. And then there should be one final one in the front. Yep, spring. We should have enough springs. Ah. All right, and so with the back being the left and the front being the right, I believe we have the correct order of the driver pins, which are honestly, in this case, I believe are going to be way less important than the order of the key pins, which are actually, that's the actual thing that's going to determine the height. So now that this lock body is empty, we're just going to put this up here. And I know this is at an odd angle, so you can see. There it is down there. I'm going to smush everything more to the top. And then we're going to transfer this. I'm actually going to clear this stuff here at the top. And then eventually we're going to transfer this to the other pad. So I'm actually going to move the C-clip over. I love these little pads, by the way. This is actually, so basically, even if you're going to repin anything, and especially if you're on the move, whether you're a locksmith or you want to take apart locks as part of your lock sport training, as far as repinning kit, or you can just get the mats itself for a couple of dollars, are amazing because they're literally professionally grade lock sport mats, but they are very small. They fit into this tiny tin case or just like in your pockets or whatever. They're excellent to have. So let's see. So there's this really stubborn retaining clips I use. Wild convertible retaining ring pliers, straight, point 0.038 internal and external. SKU 527, though there are cheaper knockoffs. That is also one of the longest named tools, which tells me it comes directly from a lockpicking shop. So yeah, now I can actually pick the key out slowly. And we have our different key pins here. So before I go into that, let's see what we pulled out of the bibble. And you can see where all the problems are. So first of all, like I thought, which makes me now really proud that I single pin picked this, even more hilarious that I was able to break this. Yep, the Sparrows mini mats are awesome. These were all security pins. All 5 pins were all security pins. The first pin was a spool pin, and all the spools are the same. There's none with thinner tops or thicker bottoms. They are all, let's try that again. They are all thick top, thin the middle, thick bottoms. That bottom girls make the work around. Because it's trying to do it. and they all seem to also have the same steel springs with the same tensions. So the first one was one of those spools, second one was one of those spools, so was the fourth one, and the fifth one because there's only 5 pins. The odd one is in the middle, and this basically is really fucking weird. First of all, I think there's actually hair around it for some reason. Move that. This is I believe, a serrated pin, driver pin. But what makes it so freaking odd is that it's basically a certain variant of a driver pin that's kind of uncommon. Usually, serrated pins. Let's see, I'm not going to do this. I'll take out what's usually your most common serrated pin to show you what I'm talking about, since I don't have the other one where it's obviously pinned up. I'm going to put another type. So usually a serrated pin. And remember how I kept getting confused where I got the back two and the front two? But that middle one, that third one confused me. Now I know why. So I'm going to put what's usually typically a serrated pin below the one that was in this one. I'm actually going to zoom in a bit more. That's max zoom, which is also a great hacker username if no one's taken it yet. But Max Headroom's brother, Max Zoom. And we're going to see what I'm talking about here. Let's see if I can. I like the mats, but I love the bigger tray. Yes, eventually I am going to get the bigger tray, but again, just having these alone is the reason why I can do these. The sad part about my kit is that I lost the plug follower. I have no idea where the hell it is, but basically I can get another one and also them in multiple sizes for just under $2. So I'm going to order a new one anyhow very soon. But as you can see down here, below is what is a normal serrated pin. So usually, like the common way is either the top part is smooth and the bottoms have these deep cut serrades, or it's the reverse where the bottom smooth and top is cut, or it's those deep cuts all the way through. This type of serrated pin is a variant of serrated pin that was in that third chamber in the Bible, that is called a barrel, because honestly, I'm actually shocked that instead of spool pins, they really should just call these hand weights. Because, I mean, look at the screen. They look like little rep weights that you would do at the gym. Because nobody knows what a spool is because nobody sews anymore. And I have, like, angry grandma throwing a multiple cocktail through our window. But this one that was in the hole number 3 is a variant of a serrated pin that's called a barrel. And a barrel is basically it's one of these normal serrated pins and one of these spool pins mated. The barrel would be its estranged bastard son. And that instead of having really deep cuts all at the same length all the way through, there's usually a cut 2/3 from the top and 2/3 down from the top and 2/3 up from the bottom. And it's usually a very thin cut. It only goes slightly. And this can be a big pain in the ass because, first of all, when you're pushing up, setting it, it feels like a normal pin for a while. Then it catches, but because of how shallow the cut is, it only needs 2 of them, maybe 3, it doesn't feel like a spool pin. It feels like it naturally sets. So you have the same spool effect or serrated effect where it's not going through, but because of how thin the cut is and the way it's spaced out, you're more thinking that there's 3 master wafers, which are kind of like thinner, they're kind of like thinner driver pins, or I should say shorter driver pins, than dealing with one entire pin cut into 3 sections. And so that was probably what was giving me the most amount of trouble, besides the spring tension of the actuator and the lock body here. God, this is still really heavy even if you remove the cord. That was what was probably giving me trouble. Because remember how I kept being like, I got the 2 in the back, I think one moved in the front, I moved the one in the front, I'm going back and forth, and it was that middle one. Like once I got that, so now I know 2 clicks of that middle one goes all the way through. I'm also betting that middle one is the reason why I can rake the whole thing. Because I noticed that usually when there's at least 1 or 2 more normal pins than the spool pin or the serrated pin, more of sort of the spool pins, it's way more easy to rake. And I think if these were all spools, and I could experiment and put an actual spool in for my kit, but I already hate myself as much as it is. So I'm not going to be doing that tonight or in the future, or in the near future, I should say. But what I mean by this is that I'm pretty sure if this was all spools, while there would still be a chance I could rake the whole thing open, I don't think it would have been easy as the other ones are, because basically once those other 4 vibrate in, that other middle one, because the cuts are so shallow, basically acts like a normal pin, and that will instantly set. And I noticed that when I was raking, as I feel the front and back jumble around, and then all of a sudden, once those front and back set, it just instantly opens like there was no middle pin. And that's probably why I could rake this open normally. So now we're going to do the part where this is where I start pulling my hair. And actually, before I do this, what we're going to do is I'm actually going to put the C-clip back. We're going to zoom out. God, this episode is so much fun. I'm so glad I bought this. Only a deranged lockpicker like me could be happy to buy a master lock that can easily rake open. I'm actually going to take this middle pad just because the springs are longer, and I'm going to turn this one upside down. Just like my life. I'm going to move the C-clip over to here. And before we take out these key pins at the bottom, because this is the part where I'm going to really need to know the order. If I lose the order, I'm going to have to do a lot of guesswork putting it back together. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to move all the springs and all the driver pins over to the other mat in their appropriate place. So that's why you have these long peeps here. These are mainly for the springs. And that's why I wish kind of the logo was the other way, but whatever. And then in that order, and this is going from front to back, is I'm going to take, I know there's like a more professional way of doing this. I think I have to move everything over one space or something, but screw it. This would have been where a 6-pin was. Go fight me. I'm not a professional. So here's the part where we're going to have to do this. So if I reorient, that's the keyway, that's the front where the keys go in. That's the back. And actually, if we look at this just as it is, let's focus here. Okay. You can already see here, front part, way more shallow than the shear line. Second pin, from the front, higher than the shear line. Middle pin, where that barrel is, almost at the shear line. See, it's starting to make sense why we could rake this. Fourth pin from the front, way below the shear line. Last pin, almost at the shear line, but just slightly more shallower than that middle pin. So the only one that's like pretty much always at that shear line is that middle third pin. And I guess, I almost said sparrows. Master lock is probably more reliant on that barreled spool pin, that barrel pin, in order to provide the security instead of that pin. Because honestly, if they probably set it down a little lower, a little higher, that would have confused the whole thing as the next instant reward goes off. Cool, Dalp, as I guess I'm going to start calling you. Wait, you pick up schools? Do you like... I can imagine an Australian doing that. You folks are so hardy as Australians that you literally just go over and you roll up your sleeves and you pick up an entire school and you move it across the outback. And then you just slam it down and hope there wasn't a wallaby or a parliamentary member underneath there before you set it down. Because
you generally hope they are an MP at that point.
Yeah. Well, you know, MPs are an invasive species because that's how they breed racism in Australia. At least you have to try to breed racism in Australia, unlike where I am. Anyhow, all you have to do in America is just like be born with $2 less than everyone else, and racism. So let's see. Cheers, Sorrel. Be uploading a new video. Oh, cool. I'll check out your video and I'll watch out, especially if it's on Twitter. If it's on Instagram, I'll share the post, but if it's on Twitter, I'll also share the post, or I might just take the video reel and copy paste it over. So this is the one, and we're actually literally almost done because I don't think I'm gonna record me putting this back together. I might. I'll put it this way: if someone donates even $1 before I disassemble this thing, I will record myself putting all this back together, guaranteed. You gotta pick up the kids from school. Wait a minute, don't you know everything? You're Dalp. They're from the school of Delp. You can just teach them everything. They just absorb knowledge from you from standing around. Anyhow, so I'm gonna stop futzing around. This is the dirty method of how to get all these out. Although I'm worried about this hangnail here. So this is the front part on the right, and this is the back. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this mat over here. I'm going to move this spool pin all the way to the front. Actually, I'm going to put it in its own jail over here. And what we're going to do is I'm going to dump these out front to back. So I make sure it covers the whole except for the first one. We're going to rotate it. That one just flew out. And I know the curved part means down, so we're going to put that under the first pin, which is going from right to left. I'm going to move up one. This is key pin number 2. These pins are really in there. Might have to use the key to kick some of them out, or maybe I can actually just grab it. Or wow, it's really in there. I have to grab the rest of it. Might give this a proper lubing before I put it back together. Now we move up. Here's pin number 3. Ooh, almost. Whoop. There you go. No, you can't make love to spool pin number 4 as much as he's handsome. You're in key pin number 3. And you're upside down. There we go. That's that third one. There's a little odd red mark on it. And then pin number 4. You ever coming out? These are like snug as a bug in a rug named Doug. Just made that one up, so it's probably going to kill me after the stream. Okay, so that one fell out. This one has like a silver tinge to it. And then finally, I don't need to cover anything. I just shake this really hard. Shake this really hard. More like shaking my hair. All right, fine, be that way. Key, help me. Key, you're actually useful for once. Or not. Wow, it really is that much at the shear line. It's like barely sticks out. Wow. There we go, finally. And it's really smooth going in and out, just like how she likes it. This one also has a red tinge. This goes all the way in the rear. That's probably why it's red. So there we go. After removing the C-clip and making my hands incredibly dirty, we have the actual sequence for the Master Lock Pro Series 7040. Actually, do it like this. The old core. So up here is the C-clip, and this is the old core, and this is the Master Lock itself. And then, as you can see from over here, it seems all the way in. There we go. We have our Pro Star lineup here. Hi, my name is Alanta Vega, and I'm going to give you the order of the pin. So the first one up is let's see, and we actually aim for them here. As no one likes politicians. I think you can pretty much go anywhere in the world and no one likes their politicians. Except maybe kind of New Jersey, but just maybe. Depends on where you're located.
Yeah.
And how Sicilian you are. So the thing is that I'm not trying to be racist either. You should see what our elections were like this year. It was really sad. So all the springs here are steel springs, all at the same length and the same tension up here. There's 5. It's only going to be 5 pins, 5 springs, 5 key pins, 5 driver pins. I found 2 Master Lock number 3s this weekend. No key, but just picked and decoded with the M1 Lishi. Cool. Going to try key cutting them now. Cool. He's repasting. You are doing the work that Master Lock doesn't even do themselves. like refining keys. I actually wonder. I wonder if there's a non-pain in the ass method in order to decode like distatainer locks, so that you can figure out the angle of the cuts. It might be an easier way to do it. Although apparently it took forever to make an actual dimple lock sizing pin system, which Lock Noob famously covered. Lock Noob should start paying me because I think this is like the 5th time I've mentioned him on the stream. 7. Thank you, because I'm not keeping track. So yeah, I love Lock Noob, but yeah. But yeah, these are all steel springs off the top and the bibble. And then what we have in the front, so we have a normal-ish spool driver pin. And all the key pins are normal because you can have serrated and spooled key pins, believe it or not. I'm looking at you, Asa Alboy, and how much you freaking hate lock people. Asa Alba, or Asa Alboy, Alba, whatever the fuck they're called, um, they literally have their own.
To elbow.
Yes, that's literally what they. That's literally how they torture you.
That's what you called them.
Yeah, no, that was a Freudian slip.
Ugh.
It's literally they put their entire arm so far up your ass when you try to do picking on this, it goes all the way to your elbow. No, Bosnian Bill did an entire video that's literally called Asa Alboy and how much they hate the lock sport community. Because what I was about to say is that Asa Alboy, which is why I can't wait to do this on this channel eventually, because I really want to hate myself. They have their own proprietary key pins and driver pins. They have such odd security functions on them that just makes you hate the existence of life more than you already do. That they're key pins that Jack would have made. They're custom.
Oh. Okay.
So all the key pins are normal in terms of security. They're just different heights, and that's the actual bidding. Like in most locks, all the driver pins are all the same height, but they each, because these are security pins, they each have a different security, or for the most part they do. So we have a normal-ish, kind of more chunky spool pin with a very tall key pin for number one. Then we have another exact same size spool pin as its first brethren, and then a shorter key pin, so we went from low to high. Then we have a barrel variant spool pin. Sometimes they're called barrels, sometimes just like their own thing. There's a debate on if barrels are their own thing or they're a variant of spools. I'm just covering literally both my asses. What do you call 1,000 politicians up to their necks in sand? Not enough bloody sand. By the way, I could actually answer that. What you call 1,000 politicians up to their neck in sand is all the politicians that Ted Cruz abandoned when he went to Cancun to avoid responsibility, because that's literally what he's paid to do. As I said, a bunch of my relatives live in Texas. I couldn't even put them on the stream, the type of obscenities that would get our streams permabanned. So, it has a barrel spool, again, the same size as all the other driver pins, but this is the barrel design. And then we have a slightly taller key pin. In fact, the key pin is almost as tall as the first pin, so we have a low, high, low. And then the next one is they're almost the same size, actually. I think this one is slightly taller, so it went from low, high, low to slightly a bit more lower, but now we've returned to the normal chunk spool pin. And then finally, we have a shorter key pin, although it's not the shortest, with yet another spool. So we have the same tension and steel strength across all 5 pins, and then we go, the bidding is low, high, low, slightly lower, slightly higher, and it goes spool pin, barrel pin, spool pins for the driver pin. And that was in this motherfucker, and my theory is that this middle key pin that is basically at the shear line, basically praying that the barrel, literally do a barrel roll, barrel driver pin. Basically, that key pin is hoping that that barrel pin does all the work, is probably the reason why this whole thing is rakeable. That, and I think it's the last 3 pins, because instead of going for a very short pin and then a way taller pin, almost as tall as the first one, it does a good low, high, low, but then only goes like a millimeter lower and a millimeter higher. So basically, just like as you can see, and you can actually line this up with the key. In fact, I'm going to do that on the extra spacing in a moment. It's basically, and you can see it here, it is, that it is super low in the front, super high in the back, mid-size in the middle, slightly below mid-size, and then slightly above high mid-size. So probably all the 3 pins line up with the kinetic attack instantly, or near instantly. I know the barrel definitely instantly does. And then the first 2 pins are what holds it back, and then in total chance, if those 2 line up, it all opens. The way I would kind of do this is not only use different size spool pins entirely across, maybe a serrated one, a proper serrated one all the way in the back, but I would have dig deeper, another a way deeper cut, and then a way shallower cut at the tip of the key and used key pins that were as long as the first one and as secondly short as the second one to really make it a low, high, low, super low, high, that would totally confuse the fuck out of me and also wouldn't be able to do the raking. But that's enough about me being evil. In fact, the last thing I'm going to do just for funsies is I'm going to move this over here. And because I will say this, after I line all the key pins up at the actual key, so you can just see how everything lines up, because no one has donated, unfortunately, while I was doing that explanation, not even $1, this is pretty much going to be the end of our episode. And I'm not salty about it because, again, I'm broke too. I completely understand. It's just that, again, it's similar to End Commander on his own show. If you really want to torture, like I'm trying to do right now, the ever-loving piss out of me, go donate any amount of money on a charity stream. Actually, hold the key in place to do this. This is like shit. This is like bottle ship building. This is so annoying. I always see these like expertly done photos of like all the key pins on the key, and every time I do it myself, it takes 5 million years. And I'm like, I have no idea. Probably years of practice, and the fact that I just have like old man arthritis or something. I don't know how these other Lux sporters do this. And even when I do line it up, this is going to be the most like bootleg. Almost. Come on, roll over. Roll over and play that. This is going to be the most bootleg looking version of this. And I'm also trying not to mess up the order, even though I kind of mentally know in my head. I could always go back. It also doesn't help. The other reason why these are so hard to manipulate is because they're using the patented Master Lock new lube, which, by the way, you can actually buy that from Master Lock, the lube that they use. But it's really, really, really sticky. Makes your hands feel gross. That's why I always wash my hands afterwards, even if I don't need to. It's basically what you imagine if, like, it's like if grape jelly was made with the same consistency of petroleum jelly. And that's the type of lube they use. And so that's it's basically like sticking to the tweezers and everything else, and that's why it doesn't want to line up. And of course, this is also so close together that every move I make, every step I take, I'll be watching you. No, it's that every time I adjust it slightly and put it in place, it locks all the other ones out of alignment. This is almost as difficult as it is picking that single pin, picking the actual lock. Almost there. Ah, geez. Stuck to the end and pulled it out. All I hear is Tetris music. Actually, I'm going to do something really stupid in terms of the stream and actually face this way. Oh, this is really testing my patience. Right now, my brain's doing that meme of like with this last pin, like, why can't you be all like the other kids? And the kids screaming. All right, well, that's as best as we're going to get that. So that's kind of what the order is. So as you can see, it's super low, super high, then like at the shear line, and then slightly below the shear line, and then slightly above the shear line. And that, my friends, is the Master Lock Pro Series 7040. Try to zoom in on that. So that's this lock. And watch as I do this spiel, someone's going to donate $1. That would be absolutely hilarious. But then again, the Egg Commanders fans are not on my stream. I'm very happy and excited that everyone, as I switch tabs, was on this stream. Thank you for everyone.
If you, the master of unlocking, take it with you.
Looting through the rubble, leaving cities war-torn, still incurring war spawn, ragged and I'm forlorn, trying to unlock this. Open with my
I can't
lockpicks,
see.
punching with
Sorry,
my
I
second
don't know
hand.
why we're doing the intro again. There we go. That's what I wanted. That's how much of a pain in the ass this has been. That I accidentally did our intro again. But yeah, but basically, yeah, that is the now slightly lighter weight Master Lock 7040 Pro series of Master Locks. What we have learned today is that Master Lock doesn't lie all the time, but it seems like the best that it does is offer half truths. Um, this is structurally a lot stronger and more difficult. In terms of its core, it's very unusual, I will say at least. It's honestly its high security stuff has nothing to do with like probably that was consciously secure, such as which is its weirdest thing is the fact that the core is super spring tension, so you're fighting against turning it even with the normal key. But the lock, the shackle. Oh, okay. As he breaks the lock now. The shackle. Aha. There we go. That's what I did. Are you still there? I think so. Oh, damn it. This is why I'm not putting it back together on air. The shackle is not, as it's now completely disassembled. I did this once with the Abus lock years ago. That literally took me an hour. This will take me way less than that. But what was I saying? But the shackle is not spring tension, but the core is, and that's probably like and thank you, Cheryl, for cheering me on. And you're welcome for me doing it. And that's probably its weirdest security feature. It does feature proper security pins, although it's questionable use of a barrel when one of the key pins was already at the shear line, basically hoping Master Lock in its fallacy thinks that the barrel designed spool pin is a lot more secure than it actually is. So they're like, we don't need to do variance and bidding. We could just have the one driver pin to cut all the work, and that didn't work, which made me realize that while it is annoying, mainly thanks to the tension, to single pin pick this open, you can more easily rake it open that, and it's terrible bidding. So while this is probably better technically than a Master Lock number 3, even though it only takes a half a second longer to rake it open than Master Lock 3, I wouldn't call this a pro series. I'd call it an improved series or a proof of concept of an improvement for Master Lock. But it's safe to say that Master Lock, even though there are things I do like about this particular 7040 series, again, I haven't tried the other Pro series, although, funny enough, I do know for a fact that one of the Pro series is literally an American Lock 1100 that's branded Master, and now instead of just having them as just these normal rebranded American Lock Master Locks, they now put them in the Pro series, even though they're literally just rebranded 1100s with the wafer, so you can't bypass it. Those were sold out. Otherwise, that's why I'd be doing this episode. I'm actually glad got the 7040 for its weird ass non-tension shackle but tension core. But basically, Master Lock is still holding its tradition of being a incredibly crappy lock company, except when they do accessibility. That's when they actually, for some reason, have security on their locks. And we did that today by single pin picking this, which even though it killed my hands, it took a while, realizing it's a lot easier to rake than I thought it was, and then actually gutting my first ever C-clip lock. And now I'm going to spend time off camera so I don't embarrass myself any further putting it back together. Again, for future streams, especially if you're seeing what's after the fact, we are still trying to raise money for the Children's Miracle Network Hospital. We're trying to raise money for sick kids across the United States and Canada, all these pediatric facilities and children's hospitals that are understaffed and funded, undersupplied, down under in terms of dark arts, in terms of DELP, but particularly under the thumb of terrible politicians and Jeff Bezos's. And this was before the pandemic. It's even worse now. So whether we're live streaming or not, if you want to donate money to help sick kids before January 1st, we're going to be doing a ton of streaming all week. The next show, because it's the first and third Sunday of the month for the Master of the Lock Picking on Dark. The Master of Unlocking. Wow, boy, do I need to eat dinner, and this lock made me lose memories from my childhood. I just want to check the calendar real quick. It's going to be 2 days after our meeting, so I can definitely say that our meeting is going to be on the 17th, and let me put in the link again where you can donate. If you want to donate, I just put the link one last time in chat. You can also scan the QR code if it works. And if you're on Twitch, which don't leave left yet if you're on Twitch, because we're going to raid someone, but if you're on Twitch, we always have that widget. Even if we're not streaming, donate money. I think it's even more hilarious if we turn on the stream and we see the thing boost up as soon as we turn it on. That's always a fun thing to do. Thank you for thinking this was a great stream. I try. My hands now are cursing at me. And what was I getting at here? So, yeah, there's the link where you can donate. Our next episode, so our meeting's going to be the last meeting not the last meeting of all time, the last meeting for 2021 will be on the 17th. We're hoping that we'll have details later this week of exactly, like we know what's going on, but we're about to post a question on our social media where you all get to help us on the logistics for how we're going to do this crazy thing. And then we're going to announce the crazy thing we're going to do at our December meeting that will both. There'll be exclusive stuff in person. It'll be super fun in person, but if you can't make it out, if you live down under physically moving schools, or you're stuck at home because you unfortunately got the new Decepticon variant of the coronavirus, or any of the other factors, it will be partially live streamed. In fact, it's probably going to be the most live streamed one that we're going to have if everything goes correctly. But the next Master of Unlocking, if you want to see more lockpicking stuff, will be 2 days after the 17th, on the 19th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I can tell you right now, we're trying to close the year by having the organizers of Lock Camp, especially the main one, on to talk about what Lock Camp is, how long they've been doing it, the logistics of it, and just like cool stories of running it and what the next one's going to be like. That was actually going to be this episode, but dead serious. They have some sort of, it's not corona, but basically it's not strep, but their throat's screwed up right now due to like some sort of disease going on. I don't know if they were screaming out of luck for too long, or they're in Texas, so they probably just breathed in a Texas air fart from Ted Cruz and it killed their throat. I don't know what happened, but basically they couldn't speak. So hopefully if you're on Instagram in particular and you see Lock Camp, or you're on Twitter, at them and be like, hey, hope for a swift recovery, not only because it's the right thing to do, but hopefully in 2 weeks from now, I will be able to bring them on at a guest and close out the new year, because I just turned into having Tasmanian devil syndrome. I'm blaming you, Dow.
Wait, who was it that has the raspy throat?
The main person who runs Lock Camp.
Oh, okay. Huh.
So, and I guess I'm slowly turning into a Muppet, because like as soon as the stream ends, what you're not going to see is me just go, and then I put this all back together. But what I was getting to is, so the next time you'll see me is on the 19th for Master of Unlocking at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you don't care about when you see me and you want to see me, my other show on the 11th, if I remember correctly, let me double check the calendar. The Crypto Barons is going to be on. I'm not going to announce who I want on the 11th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's this upcoming Saturday. I'm not going to say what the details are because I'm hoping I get to announce that very soon, but I'm super excited for that episode. And if you want to see me even sooner and you actually want to see Cell participate and a bunch of other people from DCG 201, this Tuesday at 8 p.m., we are debuting a new show. A show that we've been debating about for a while called Patch Tuesday, where basically every first Tuesday of the month, as Cell Kilroy's himself on camera, you're like, huh? He's actually a puppet. But every first Tuesday of the month, we're going to recap all the previous news of the previous month of various people using technologies in awesome and stupid ways, malware infections, IoT devices, terrible cryptocurrency news because there's no actual clever or good cryptocurrency news anymore. Vehicle hacking, just basically all the crazy hacker tech news being Mystery Science Theater peanut gallery by all of us at DCG 201. So you can check us out. Patch Tuesday, this Tuesday, 8 p.m. You can see my other show, Crypto Barons, this Saturday at 8 p.m. And the next Master of Unlocking and the final one for the year will be on the 19th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, literally 2 days after our meeting. And we even have more stuff, more streaming stuff that we are going to announce. It's going to be the most amount of streaming we're probably going to do in a while. And if what he showed me is true, during our meeting, we're also going to be announcing some news to show you that this train is not stopping, especially since COVID-19 derailed 2000 a lot. I can already tell you that 2022 is basically us doing all the amazing stuff we were supposed to do in 2020, both in person and online. So you will very soon find out how pumped I am for next year. So anyhow, that's the end of Master of Unlocking. I hope you learned a lot as you saw my hand slowly degrade and fall apart as I tried to deal with this Pro Series lock. That's more frustrating than it is secure, which really should be Master Lock's tagline for the Pro Series. And that was it. I hope you click the link to donate. If you're on Twitch, we also have the widget where you can donate to Children's Miracle Network Hospitals, because even if we're not streaming, you can always donate $1 or $5. Again, we're not asking for much. All those little donations always add up and always pushes us over a goal. And we're literally almost halfway to our goal for delivering a ton of money to help sick kids across the United States and Canada. And thank you for all the follows. Thank you for everyone chatting in chat. If you were on Twitch, stay tuned, because while you listen to the crazy music, in a minute or two, we are going to go raid some channel. I don't know who it is. Could be another lock picker. Could be someone doing hacking or programming. It could be some crazy virtual reality persona. It could be just crazy music. It could be someone playing a video game. It could be someone in a hot tub. We have no idea what it is, but you're going to find out very soon. So thank you for tuning in, Master Unlocking. I hope to see you on our final episode for this year, Master Unlocking, on the 19th. And I hope to see you very soon, literally this Tuesday, 8 p.m. for Patch Tuesday. Hack the Planet, Dirty Jersey represent, and remember, what should I say? A series of Allen wrenches are actually shockingly cheap. I mean, this thing is kind of but hey, it got the lock open. Got the lock open faster than it's almost got it as fast as the rakes.
I can get it so that it's not like dangling out like that, but I would need another Allen.
Yeah, also, I think there's pills for that. Anyhow, that's our show. Enjoy the music. Say hi to whoever we raid on Twitch. Peace out. Hack the Planet. See you on Tuesday. It's literally going to be a riot. But not the chat program, thankfully.
Fold it up, we gon' burn it down. Fold it up, we gon' burn it down.